All right, we are live, I think. I'd like to welcome everybody to the committee, Keystone and Transcona Community Committee. I have with me Brendan Harris, Ms. Hoy Cho of the Planning Department, Mr. Brendan Harris of the Clerks is to my immediate left, and then followed by Councillor Barwadi, and now Councillor Emma Duran Woods. Welcome to the Community Committee. And is this your first meeting of the Community Committee? It is, right? Very good. Welcome. For the good ward of Elmwood East Kildonan. And so we'll start our meeting with the land and water acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota people, and the national homeland of the River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Trolley, 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. Do we have any minutes that we need to pass? I believe the resident advisory group meeting, Ms. Rand Word, Councillor Ryan Woods, move that if possible. All in favor, opposed, carried. Councillor Boyd, like you minutes of the last meeting. So moved. All in favor, opposed, carried. We have delegations, I understand.
Correct. So our first delegation is going to be Ryan Frick, Director of Urban Wagons, to be heard in support of per capita grant Urban Wagons Report 5.
Thank you. Mr. You would like to come up and speak, or do you guys want to speak today? Okay, please come forward.
You have 5 minutes to make your presentation after you state your name.
Is Mrs. Moran joining you too, or
What's right?
is Lisa joining as well? Or?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Ryan Frick. I'm here as the Director of Urban Wagons. We are a nonprofit in the downtown area that operates every Monday. We deliver food.
You want to speak up, Ryan?
Sorry. We are a nonprofit that delivers food, water, clothing, and other essentials to vulnerable and unsheltered Winnipeggers who are in need of additional help. We are seeking a grant to help us provide more winter clothing and water supplies for our fellow residents of downtown Winnipeg this winter, as fundraising is going well, but we could always use a little bit more help because times are tough and things are getting more expensive. So we would greatly appreciate if the committee would grant us some money for this.
Okay. Is there any questions? Would you like to say a few words, ma'am?
Mitts and gloves. Frostbitten fingers we see throughout the winter. We have about 90 people we're serving with soup, sandwiches, and hot meals from Community Helpers Unite. But invariably, I'd say out of those 90 people, maybe 70, 75 say their hands are freezing cold. We can see it. Mitts and gloves are one of the most expensive items in our winter apparel that we never have enough. We're constantly running out of these winter gear items. So we would use a significant portion of those dollars to go and buy retail or in bulk from online stores to bring up our supply. We never have enough. Our supply gets depleted every week, and often we set out in our wagons for the evening with not enough at all. Sometimes 25 is our max.
Thank you very much. Was there anything else you wanted to add? Are there any questions?
Just quickly, if we could get a suspension of the rules just to hear our additional delegation, just as a formality.
Oh, okay. All in favor. That's what we all in favor. Opposed, carried.
And sorry, can I just get your name?
Lisa Morantz, MORANTZ.
Are you any relation to Marty?
Yeah, he's my.
Oh, is he? Oh, wow. That's fantastic. That's great. Well, say hi to him for me. And for us, yeah. Certainly.
Sure.
Him and I used to fight all the time, but then we became friends. Yeah, we became friends. That was yeah.
Exactly.
I hope he's well.
He is, yes, he's enjoying his new retirement.
I'm sure you are, which as well. Well, give him my best, please, Russ Wyatt. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, okay. Any other questions? No? All right, fantastic. Thanks for coming, and we'll deal with your item when it comes up on the agenda. Appreciate it very much, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for the work you're doing out there. And you know, it's going to get cold soon, so
We've had people asking for the last 4 weeks if we had winter gloves. It's already freezing at night.
Is that right?
Outside at night. They sleep outside. So
yeah.
by 2 a.m., 3 a.m. the temperatures drop. gonna go down, no matter how warm the afternoon is.
Yeah, fair enough. That's you put sleighs on the wagons?
Sometimes we actually do, we put skis.
Skis, I mean? Yeah, skis, yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much and be safe. Okay, thank you. Next delegation?
Next two delegations will be heard in support of 1555 Regent Avenue West Landscaping, Report 2. Ray Wan, we'll call you forward.
Oh, Ray,
Good morning.
you have any video you wanted to show us on the screen like you sometimes do, or?
It's not a video. We have a presentation
Presentation.
material with the plan that I've sent over to your office, hard copies.
Okay.
Is the master landscaping plan that you have requested. Is a updated version from what we have presented to you last March when we did the mall update.
Just before you start, Ray, if I may, Councilor Duran, we had this item on our agenda last month. We laid it over and we got laid over again. We wanted to give you an opportunity to join our committee first, have some input into this. This is involving our Kildonan Place shopping mall, which happens to be in my ward, but is a regional shopping mall, so it services our entire area. So I always look for input from all councilors into it. We've pushed Kildonan Place. They've been very gracious through Mr. Wan to make updates to the mall. We have good timing in the sense that the mall has been doing some major changes, renovations, but also in terms of the landscaping, the actual look of the mall for both pedestrians, pedestrian access, improving that, landscaping, trees, bike parking, all that sort of stuff. So we've been kind of like we'll see today. We'll get an idea of it, and we'll probably want to give you some time to have a look at it and give you some input into it. So for the next meeting, so that would be my suggestion, Councilor Bawadi. So that's give you a bit of background where we're at right now.
Just curious, should I screw that? I have the talent, Thank you.
All is owned, just by a firm called Primaris, and they're based out of Calgary. So that's who owns it now. It's changed hands a number of times.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you for introducing KP Kildonan Place to Councilor Woods.
Durand Woods. Durand Woods.
Durand Woods. Emma.
No S, just
Oh, no, Durand Woods, thank you. Oh, there's only one, and there's only one. Sorry.
Make it easy
That's
for
like,
me. I'll call you Emma.
transport thing. We always safe ways, Costco's. Anyway, that's our accent.
We have been working on this property for the last decade, and occasionally we do come forward to the ward councilor for new building along Regent Avenue. That's about last 10 years. And until we hit COVID in 2020, originally we have a very large grand plan for the shopping center to the north side. And subsequently, we stalled about 2.5 to 3 years. All the materials were bought, all the rooftop units were sitting in the yard, but because of the shutdown, we have to replace all of them. So financially, it was a big burden to the overall project. And we scaled back a little bit and came back in March this year to get approval for the next phase, the modified phase, to complete the renovation of the shopping center to the north. Since prior to that, we built the new Save on Food, we built the new Cineplex. Now we're going to the food court area. We're doing some larger vendor space, retail space to the shopping center, opening up to the north side for additional parking and additional access for the public user of the mall, so that we can carry on with the original program of Walk the Mall for the people in the earlier hour. That's in process. That portion of the work is in process. During that process, we have another bank express interest of coming in and do a freestanding banking facility to the east side of our property adjacent to the Canadian Tire site. It's a 5,000 square feet at bank. I cannot disclose who they are, but some of the major elements that Councilor Wyatt had pointed out before, make sure we have public washroom facility, make sure the people in the public that emergency they can use and go into the bank and use public washroom. That has been incorporated. We also talk about dedicated park and ride for the transit user. We have identified that on this particular plan, which is to the northeast corner of the new entry. Can you see the mouse here?
Yes.
Okay, which is highlighted on the overall site plan. The pad development that we're dealing with on the lower southeast corner of a site adjacent to Regent Avenue, in alignment with the existing 3 building along Regent Avenue. We came forward for plan approval a month or so ago, and the condition is to come back with the updated master plan that you're seeing today, for another round of review and make sure, Councillor Emma, you're new, so that you're being informed. In moving forward, there may be other development to the north, that now you understand the 50,000 feet, what the property is all about. As part of the condition is to show additional landscaping area, pedestrian connection, and so on, and that's all identified on this plan. Questions?
Questions, this time? No? Go ahead, Councilor Lawley.
So, again, it's just a little hard to tell right off here. How many plantings are there today and how many will there be when this is all done?
I have Melissa. Melissa is the landscape architect from McGowan Russell, and she can support me on those stats.
So the chart at the bottom, I know it's hard to see on here, that's, that shows all of the existing number of trees on site. So part of the requirement was adding additional landscaping along Regent. So there's a lot of existing trees along the front. There's about 35 existing trees along Regent. And the other area that was in question for the approval was just along the north-south road, between the mall and Regent, adjacent to the Canadian Tire. There's already 6 existing trees to remain on that road as well. To improve on that, we are adding an additional tree along that north-south road, since that's the only amount of space that we could afford. There's not really enough space to add a lot more trees without it impeding the growth of them. And then along Regent, we're adding an additional 4 trees, because there was a couple of, we'll say, empty areas, sort of south of Save On Foods. And then we do have the totals for the entire site. We're providing well in excess the number of trees. And then once you start to take into account all the tree credits for keeping existing trees, we started to allocate those to the number of shrubs on site. And we're meeting all zoning requirements for parking lot, street edge, building foundation, everything.
So looking at the area just to the east of the transit loop, are those trees all there today? I mean, I think of the mall, and I think it as being like a huge, pavement wasteland, but this makes it look pretty good.
Yeah. And it's quite a large area, and it's quite surprising how many trees are out there once you start counting them.
And I've seen in other US cities where they've, done regional malls that actually look really good.
I know on the north side, we've improved on that quite a bit by providing all the walkways going north, south, and trees along there. This plan, I guess for clarification too, all of the dashed blue lines are showing the pedestrian connections around and to the mall.
Up to the overall.
And then one other thing that was asked from the last meeting was just to show the bike parking on site. So the next sheet. This shows the overall parking stats for the site. We're exceeding the number of parking stalls by 630, and we have 201 bike stalls on site as well. The required amount of bike parking is 165, so we're well in excess of bike parking as well.
Are you gonna have enclosed bike parking?
There on the north side, as part of our previous approval, there was a couple of those pie-shaped enclosed bike stalls. Everywhere else is just your typical surface mount.
So are you gonna have an enclosed indoor bicycle facility of any kind or no?
It's not in the plan right now. It's not in the plan right now, Russ.
And what's the status of the park and ride?
We have talked to transit before. in March, as at your request. Transit does not want to move their transit location.
Yeah.
So what we have done is if we go back to the previous plan, the highlighted portion over here at the northeast side of the north entry, sorry for the confusion of the terminology.
And there's 54 park and ride stalls for.
Right here.
Okay, but why would you put them up there where the transit still loop is at the bottom? So that was when the transit loop was going up there, you're putting them up there. They're not going there now, so.
No, originally the transit loop was going to be part of the future residential development to the east
Yeah,
when we want
transit
to
was against that.
transit go against that. So in order to provide the best protective wintertime for access into a warm area before they get to the transit loop is the closest one is to the northeast corner of the
That's
north.
not
end.
acceptable, Ray. That's not what we agreed to when we met with Pat. We gotta get park and ride down to the south. Down by the loop. That's where the people are.
I can take it back to them one more time
Well, that's not
for,
what he agreed to.
Councilor, this is the plan that we have talked about.
I hear you, but we're not gonna
March.
pass that plan the way it stands now. We won't pass anything else coming out of the KP if this is how they're gonna be. We had this agreement with him that we were gonna have park and ride and more park and ride. And he said he would accommodate us. So far, we've been giving everything that they want and we've been getting nothing in return as a community.
Okay, I'm not here to defend what Pat and yourself has agreed, Pat.
Well, Councilor Rawani was in that meeting with them.
All right,
You know what, we knew what he said, that he committed to, and we did it in good faith, and we've been approving everything. We approved your banks, we approved another bank. Like, when are we gonna start seeing some improvements from the community side?
well, we're talking about allocation of parking stalls.
Yeah, that's right.
And that can vary.
And you just
easily.
said you have more parking than you need.
Yes, we do.
So then what's the big deal to put parking where we need it? You get that commitment.
Councilor, I'm not here,
Put
I'm,
parking way up at the top there, when the parking facilities are on the other side of the mall. How are they supposed to get there? When the mall's closed at night, how do people get to their vehicles? They're not gonna park there.
I would take it back to Primaris and we'll clarify that.
Where are we at with regards to that north-south road? And you're marking it to the city so the city can take it over for the purpose of basically having it as a,
If I can remind you, the process was taken to Public Works and Street and Transportation. They don't want it.
I know they don't want it.
Is
but that's what we
internally,
have
they
to-
don't want it.
They don't want it, but they'll want it tomorrow.
We have made allocation for them and we have presented to them on behalf of the council's request
Yeah.
and they said no. Same thing as transit.
Keep sending it to them.
I
Keep sending
can,
it to
sure.
them. I
sure.
mean, or the worst case scenario is we shut it down and we'll see what happens. Right? We can close it. And then we'll hear the hue and cry. That's the other thing we could do.
Well, I'm here for 5,000 square feet pad bank.
Which one?
I'm here for an application for plan approval of a 5,000 square feet bank. You're asking me to deal with something internally, the administrative. I have started that in the March and took
Well,
us
let's
2
take
months
that.
to get an answer with.
Have we
with
gone
a
to the
negative.
CAO on that? We have
Sure.
a new CAO.
We as representative of the client Primaris was prepared to dedicate that land to the city of Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Both transit, public works and streets don't want it. So I have reported that back in March.
Well, then we gotta take it to the CAO.
Well,
We have a new CAO.
I appreciate that, but Russ, is that my job to talk to a CAO?
Yes, actually,
Really?
yes. Other people, it doesn't stop Qualico from doing it when they don't get something they want. You're as big as Qualico, Ray. You're actually bigger, I would suggest. Well, you got a shopping mall here that's probably worth as much, if not more than a housing subdivision that Qualico puts in all the time. Anyway, Councilor White has a question.
Melissa, I'm just looking here, doing the Google Street View live here and everything, and the date that it's showing here is August 2022. Looking at the trees along Region Avenue, they don't look particularly healthy. Have you recently looked at the condition of the trees along Region Avenue? And if not, would you be willing to replace any of them that have?
There had been an arborist report that was done several years ago. At the time, they were, the ones that are remaining were healthy enough to remain. That was probably back in 2021.
They look pretty terrible here in August of 2022.
They've been unhealthy for a long time. That's because somebody.
I mean, majority of them. There's a couple that look fine, but I'd say more, I'd say 2/3 to 3/4 look like they need to be
Councilor
replaced.
Bawadi, we live in a city where we don't properly build in below the trees enough land for them to grow.
Mhm.
And so you're not gonna get anything growing when you have a 4-foot strip on either side of the base of the tree. You gotta have a half decent island and then the trees will grow, but not in this city.
Or maybe
We-
maybe vaults even, I don't know.
Tree vaults can be done. They're very expensive, but they can be done.
And it's only 35 trees on Fronting Regent, I mean, it's.
It's about 20,000 to 30,000 a tree vault, just so you know. Yeah, it's just, but they, absolutely, tree vaults can be done, sure.
Again, it's a big expanse of concrete, I mean,
Yeah.
I appreciate if they don't wanna lose parking, but I think the trade-off would be tree vaults.
Well, I'm losing the park, right? They got parking, they have enough.
Yeah,
parking.
that southeast corner is a problem, it's already a problem, losing
Yeah.
5,000 square feet for a bank and
What-
driving more traffic is a problem.
But if you, okay, zoom out a little bit if you don't mind. Hey, what I don't understand is why we can't have park and ride stuff. You've got nobody shops at that Save on Foods because it's too expensive, by the way. And,
I do.
do you? Well, you must have a certain salary. Anyway, so, I don't understand why the parking stalls, at the bottom 1/3 of that area there, in front of Save On can't be earmarked to park and ride. I mean, that to me is just a natural. That parking lot is never full. That section is never full. So why can't that be taken as park and ride there and we want it much larger. We want it larger than what you're marking now.
How much larger do you think you would
Well,
like to see?
if you took those parking stalls there, those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows that I see, do you see them? Oh, you've gone back in too far.
No, I'll move it to where
Yeah.
you're looking at the
Yeah,
Save
okay,
on
well,
Food side.
Yeah. Now you gotta go back out a bit. Okay, back out again. Well, move over, you went too far. You went too far. No, go back to the other way, Ray.
The other way.
The other way, go
the-
east. Oh my goodness.
Which side is he looking at?
Okay. No, back the other way.
West,
Yes.
this way.
Okay, right there.
Okay,
You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns of parking there,
right here.
right there. Those are 8 columns of parking. Why can't each column set aside for park and ride?
Yeah.
Because there's never full.
As part of the leasing agreement, is always go back to the leasing agreement, how many parking we're required to provide for Save on Food.
Yeah.
And to the cinema and so on. They all have a leasing
We
right.
have to renegotiate his lease.
Okay, like I said, I'm just gonna be a messenger today and I
Yeah.
really can't defend either side because I can't say yes to everything you have been asking for.
No, wait a minute, Ray. Don't play that game.
But
We met with him. We had a back and forth at the beginning of our last election. We met with him. It's not a back and forth of what we can agree and can't agree. He made agreements with us on
Yep.
doing this.
I
So
will
we're
be,
not in negotiation here. We're questioning when are we gonna get what we asked, what he agreed to.
okay,
In lieu of the thing that we agreed to do.
can I ask for clarification? If they can dedicate the 1/3 or the bottom south end of those 8 rows of parking for future park and ride parking, would that be to your
I
satisfaction?
would think that, absolutely, on the park and ride front,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
And with the notion that this will make park and ride all on the exterior of the building through winter, all your transit user, What?
What did you say, Ray? I don't understand.
all your transit user going into the transit loop will
Right.
all be through exterior. You'll be okay with that?
Would be all what?
You will be in acceptance with that?
Looking exterior.
What do you mean? by
If I
exterior?
park over
I don't
here,
understand your question.
Yeah.
I didn't hear it all.
well, let me rephrase. If I park on the bottom 1/3 of this column here,
Right, those columns.
and I have to walk over here to the
Yeah.
transit loop, is that acceptable?
Well, you had it on the north side.
See, Ray, the FX 3 does not go into the loop. In fact, I believe it uses Stapon and Regent. And that's probably be the highest demand stop. I mean, there are a bunch of like local regional routes that go through to the bus loop
Under the new plan, yes.
under the new plan, but I still think probably the bigger driver is gonna be that FX 3 going to Stapon and Regent by the old Mastermind. It's the party store now or something.
Okay, I apologize. I think your point is to provide parking, temporary parking or daily parking for
Yeah.
transit user, but not necessarily go into the transit loop, is Stay Pond and Regent.
It's gonna be both.
Okay.
But I think that's a pretty central location, so if you're going to the FX3 to get downtown, or I think it was the Grand eventually, you're gonna wanna try to park closer to the corner First and Regent. If you wanted to use a loop, a bus that goes through the loop, you're gonna try and push the bottom third closer to further to the east, so I think it could work if it was that bottom third.
I understand.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No, seeing none. Okay, thank you very much. We look forward to bringing you back next month, Ray, and seeing what we can do. Between now and then, if you could take it back to them, that'd be fantastic.
And also, if there's anything more you can find out about the trees along Regent, if there's someone who could do new trees that could be, I don't know if there's something between a full
Tree
vault.
vaults.
If there's something between a tree vault and,
No, there's not, but it's, I mean, you know, that's the problem we have here. It's not like the West.
the road salts and stuff and all that get into the ground and there's not enough ground. I get that a little bit, but just, they look pretty.
Well,
single.
and the biggest thing, we're gonna wanna look at closely at your landscape plan, Ray, because, you know, on the site, again, is if you don't have a proper width for the pedestrian walkways and the trees, there's no point in planting trees. Trees won't take. They just won't grow. I mean, I look at the power center across the street, I laugh at it. It's a joke. You know, they've got these little islands where the trees are trying to grow out of it, they die. And
I think the current plan presented to you, Councillor, to the north, they're all accommodating properly with the sidewalk width, the connectivity. We spent a lot of time with you last time.
I know,
The width and the tree planting is adequate in our opinion. But again, I'm glad that the council, the committee pointed out that the adequate amount of space and the type of weather that we have and the salt and sand that we use did a killer.
which
So
is why we have to
either-
make them wider. Which is why we have to make them wider, which is ironically, you lose parking, right? That's the downside.
is a balancing that we're trying to do. You ask for connectivity, we provide connectivity. You ask for trees, we try to make sure the trees are planted in adequate space. There's never enough space to plant a tree, but you look at all our boulevard in the city of Winnipeg, downtown or suburb. We'll be laughing if 50% of the stocks are healthy.
Well, I agree. And we have tried to do that with tree vaults like in downtown Transcona. And maybe that's what we got to do here along Regent Avenue, to Councilor Bawadi's point. And then the other part of it is, and those tree vaults have worked there very successfully in the Transcona Centennial Square and on Regent Avenue. And we have increased the parking, as you know, Ray, up in the north west quadrant of the mall. You have a large parking space where
So you're talking approximately 40 tree vaults along Regent
right.
in the public right of way or in the private space.
You decide.
Where are
40
the
by-
current trees? Where are the current trees?
Both. You got some on
There's
the boulevard.
35 trees,
Current trees.
which you can't build a vault around them.
No,
Yeah.
but I mean,
But
most,
the new one.
the majority of them look like they need to build it. Majority of them, I would argue, if you look at August 2022, the majority of them are.
Probably if we send them to our forester and say chop them down, they're in terrible condition.
Majority of them. Well, fair, I would just say fair, I'm not an expert in arborist. But
Normal.
But it's a good idea. I think it's a great, I mean, if you recall, we expanded the parking up in the north west corner of the property. There was a large tree, natural tree stands there already, but that we allowed to be cut down to expand the parking lot. We haven't really seen anything kind of come out of that. Normally, when we cut down trees, there's a valuation done by the forester. I don't know if that happened here or not, but anyway.
Anyways, that I can share my screen with folks here, like.
No, but I know what you're talking about, Councilor Bawadi. I've seen the trees and I agree with you. I mean, up and down Regent Avenue, we don't have any tree vaults outside of what we did in downtown Transcona. And where the tree vaults sometimes fail is if that happened in downtown Transcona, some of the trees on the south side, the vaults act as if the vaults aren't properly installed, they create a situation where it's like a plant, you put water in it and you rot it, the roots rot. So you have to have them installed properly so that it can drain through. And I guess because of our clay conditions, in Manitoba, some of those trees have been problematic on the south side, but otherwise the other trees have taken beautifully. So, and that was about 10 years ago, and you can see how they're, creating a canopy and everything else. Matter of fact, some of the businesses are complaining about the lack of vista of their signs, but anyway, thank you. Any other questions? No?
So we'll lay over for.
We'll lay it over, and hopefully we can get something back on the bus and the
Is-
trees,
Is, okay,
park and
is,
ride and trees.
those are the two items that I have to come back to with the revised plan, the dedicated transit
Park and ride trees, and also the right north-south road right away. I'd like to see some correspondence with our CAO. Let's get that going again and find out, maybe we need a meeting with them. Maybe we need an informal meeting with all of the head of transit, the head of public
Or
works,
the extension of.
right? To get that, and maybe we need Council Luke's there. It seems Council Luke's, whenever she wants something, she gets it. So maybe we need her there. Right? And the new CEO, Mr. Dunford.
Okay.
You're capable of organizing this, Mr. Wine. You're a leading citizen businessman of the city, and everybody looks up to you in terms of what you've done in the past throughout the city and all the things you've accomplished. And you do get things done. That's been my experience. So anyway, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other delegations?
That concludes delegation.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let us move on then to the reports. Plan approval. Counselor Verwey, is that your ward?
Yes, yes, it is.
Do we have documents for the counselor?
Here, I did look at online, but it's nice in color, and 11 by 17. Does the planner want to make any comments here?
Sure. The property is located on the east side of Henderson Highway between Strood Avenue and McIver in the River East neighborhood of the North Kildare Ward. This property is zoned C2. So there's currently 3 commercial buildings and parking on the site. So the applicant is proposing to demolish the existing commercial building that's farther south on the subject property to construct a new 1-story restaurant use with a drive-through. The property is in a recent community policy area in CCDS 2.0. The site, in terms of policy alignment, has demonstrated that a restaurant commercial use is compatible with the area, and the new commercial development on an existing commercial site protects the vitality and viability of commercial areas that are found along Henderson Highway, and it provides commercial services within walking distance to meet daily needs. So the public service supports the plan approval for the following reason. The plans are consistent with the applicable policies in CCDS, namely that there's a high standard of urban design. That concludes my summary. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, looks good. There is some bikes, lockup spots.
Yeah, there's a bike rack just off Henderson by the front entrance there.
I like how it's pushed towards Henderson Highway, actually.
Yeah, right abut.
And there's actually entry off the sidewalk. Right? Yeah, it looks like it. Oh, no, it's the park, no? That's the park.
Parking, there's about 30 stalls. And then, of course, there's other stalls to the north. Since it's
So just looking at the main entrance though.
the main entrance, there's 2. There's one directly off Henderson, and
Yeah.
then there's a little side one
There's one off
to
Henderson.
the north.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool design. Any comments from any, my colleagues? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 1, 2, 11 car queuing. Okay. Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the public service recommendation and move approval of the submitted ones.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Number 2, Mr. Chair, your and us to latest orders for next.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
That's good. We'll see what comes back.
I can move that, and if at any time between now, just they're still listening, anytime between now and the next meeting, if they did want to have a conversation, I'll make myself available too.
Yeah, maybe what we could do is, ask,
Or it's a call or an in-person or whatever.
well, maybe pass a motion that affects saying, we could just say, that we make ourselves available or, meet with them and, specifically an offline meeting with the CEO and the heads of the departments. That's possible.
Do my very best to.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's pretty, and that's, really pertaining to that North South roadway. However, you know, we made it clear about, I think, our direction on, the bus, park and ride. And the landscaping plan. I think the landscaping plan, if you look at other jurisdictions in Canada, Manitoba, Winnipeg is so far behind. And, what's interesting is that we have all these issues with regards to storm sewer runoff into our storm sewer system, but we haven't done anything to address that to mitigate it in large parking lots. We don't have any design standards that would do it. We do have design standards, but we never enforce them. So, but we are quick to create new big parking lots, and then all of a sudden we have issues of water runoff and basements flooding and so on and so forth. So, anyway. Okay, sounds good. So the matter is laid over.
Just a note on the timing of that, the next meeting would be November 20th. Do we want to just lay it over to November 20th, or would you like to go to the following meeting, January
It's pretty
6th?
soon.
Yeah, this was really late. I remember that.
Yeah, December meeting. When's the December meeting?
November 20th.
Oh, okay. There's no December meeting. What's the committee's thoughts?
There's one like January 4th or.
January 7th.
So,
Well, let's leave it. We'll lay it over till then. They make some.
January 7th,
No, then November.
November 20th. Okay.
Yeah,
20th.
sure.
So the matter be laid over to November 20th, 2025.
There's another way to call another meeting December.
There could be a special meeting
This seems odd, eh?
if approved.
And yet we go till the 18th of December in our meetings.
Yeah.
So this meeting was actually supposed to take place at the end of October. This one was moved to the 12th. That's why they're so close together.
Okay, I got you. Okay. Yeah, but still, there's no December meeting.
November 20th is the December meeting because it goes into the rotation that gets to the December council meeting on December 18th.
Okay. Good brain. All right, next item on the agenda. Liquor permit.
This one was approved in principle. Event was on October 24th.
I guess we got it.
So it's just here to ratify the final decision.
All right, so that is moved.
I'll move it. Yep.
Keep Waddy on.
Even though his own still going, Councillor Duranwood was not elected at this point, so I can move it if you need. Okay.
Okay, all fair, post carried. Item 5, or item 4, I should say, per capita grant growing together organization. Oh, that's that matter.
No, yes, that's the one that you had requested you put on the last agenda.
This was a group of people who I've met at River East High School. They're students and everything, and they do field trips. They go to the Leaf, they do gardening. They're not in my ward. They're actually more, they're part of them. They're in your 2 wards. So I said to them, apply for a per capita grant. I said, we give them some funding. I met them at a powwow at River East back in June. And they were very, they told me all about their product. They're selling tomato plants and everything like this. So I was gonna throw in $300 or something if each counselor wanted to join me. I would encourage them, and I think that, how much was the amount? Did we have an amount?
We've never actually received an application for this one. Realistically, if the committee were to approve a per capita grant today and were just to provide me with a name, address, and amount, I could make it happen.
Did I not give you any address? Or?
No.
So how do we know? Okay. No, they reached out to me, I think. Yeah, I'd have to dig it up.
Yeah, certainly, if you can just send
Sure.
the mailing address
Okay.
and amount,
Okay. How do you have the title, the name?
you gave it to me.
Did I?
Yes,
Okay.
you asked me to add it to the agenda
Okay, then
for the
I never
October.
sent you an email about it?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Then let's follow up with Kevin on that if you don't mind.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'll move $300 out of my per capita grant. I bought some tomato plants
Someone like to be in the chair?
and I did not, oh yes, Counselor, the new Counselor Duran Wood, would you like to take the chair?
Not sure I know how, but.
Just,
You can do it.
I'll move, okay, so you take the chair and you just, Counselor Wyatt's motion is I'll move that the $300 from my share of, per capita grant be approved for this group.
It's to the Growing Together organization.
Correct.
Field trip. $300.
Do you simply, are there any other discussions on the question?
Are there any other discussions on this question?
And now this is
Yeah.
for Councilor Body, and this is for Councilor Body, it's within 300 of us.
I'm gonna pass on this one today.
All right,
I would like to see more. It sounds great, but I would like to see more.
sure, you get some more, absolutely. I'll get them to call you guys. Anyway, all right, so and I say, you call the question.
Okay, I'll call the question. Sorry, all those in favor?
All right,
Opposed? Carried.
Perfect.
very good, thank you very much.
There you go.
Okay, passing the chair back. Thank you.
Right on, thank you.
Good job.
Okay, and now we have the other item on the agenda.
This one did come, we did have the application. I apologize for whatever reason, the way it came through, it prints a little bit messy. I've sent an electronic copy to you to your emails. If you highlight it, it clears. It is for $1,000 to your organization.
They've applied for 4,000?
Sorry, it's for $1,000.
Okay, you guys were, okay.
And that's for assisting with the cost of buying bottled water, buying clothing, and buying ingredients for meals.
Okay. And I think I was gonna put in $1,000 from my account here, but, anyway, can you get out the water? You had a question?
No, that's okay.
So I'll move $1,000 from
Who would
mine.
you like
I
to
gave that commitment. The trend, or if somebody can move that for me, that'd be great.
Sure, I'll move $1,000 from the transport out.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Did anybody else want to put something in? Not at this point? You got till the end of the year, you guys got one more meeting for Canada Grant stuff.
Well, again, delegated authority, you can do it outside.
Well, that's true too. Yes, you're right. Okay, I'm happy to support it. I want to thank the volunteers who were here, they're gone, but appreciate them doing all the work they do.
Councilor White, I'll add 250.
Okay, there we go. Holy mackerel. I'm gonna take you to the casino today. There you go. All right.
From the North Valley. Yes.
You're feeling lucky, right? Okay, $1,250. And so moved, all in favor. Opposed, carried. I want to thank the two delegates, Ms. Morantz and Ryan Frick. Ryan is on the Transcona Museum Board. He does a very good job. So, okay, we will jump right. I haven't finished writing the motion yet for the regular meeting. I've been writing it while we've been going along here. So we have a public hearing though to deal with, so might as well deal with that one
I
now.
don't start that until 10:30.
Oh, yes, right. So we'll take a break until 10:30. Councilor Duran Wood moves adjournment of the meeting, the regular meeting, and we will reconvene before around 10:30. Very good. Thanks. Okay, we're here again. This is now the public hearing portion of the East Kelowna Transcona Committee meeting. I'd like to welcome all those here in delegation to speak to the item on the agenda. We start our meeting with the land and water acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. I'd like to introduce, we have with us today on my right, Ms. Choi Ho, who is the area planner for the East Kelowna Transcona Community Committee. Kevin Kowalik, who is the head of the Land Development Division of the City of Winnipeg, pertaining to development agreements, pertaining to subdivisions and rezonings. We have Councillor Jeff Brawadi, Councillor for North Kelowna, and our newly elected Councillor Emma Duran Wood from the Fine Ward of Elmwood, East Kelowna. As well, we have with us our community clerk, Mr. Brendan Harris, who is going to read the first item into the record to be heard here today.
In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Next, those registered in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. Finally, the applicant can speak in rebuttal to comments made, however, no new information is permitted. Please note that when your name's called, it's your opportunity to speak, however, you are not obligated to do so. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the City Clerk's Department website. Please note that all public hearings are recorded and will be a part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department. Item 1 is the subdivision and rezoning at 1294 and 1310 Henderson Highway under file BASZ8/2025. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, this is a combined hearing, and the following item will also be heard at the same time. Namely, item 2 is a variance at 1294 and 1310 Henderson Highway under file DAV 203923/2024D. Please note communications were received in support of and in opposition to the matter, which have been distributed to all members of the committee. The process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application, those registered in opposition, and those registered for information. The applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made, however, no new information is permitted. Speakers will be permitted 5 minutes for their presentations. All participants in the Zoom meeting have been muted and will only be permitted to speak when called upon. At this time, I'll turn it over to the administration for a brief overview.
The subject properties are located on the west side of Henderson Highway between Irving Place and Slater Avenue in the Kildonan Drive neighborhood of the North Kildonan Ward. 1296 Henderson Highway is currently occupied by a one-story single-family dwelling with detached garage, and 1310 Henderson is occupied by a one-story single-family dwelling with an attached and a detached garage. The applicant proposes to consolidate and rezone the subject properties from R1L PDO1 malls and corridors, mature communities PDO1, which is residential single-family large district, to RMFM PDO1 malls and corridors, mature communities PDO1, which is residential multifamily medium. And they're looking to construct 2 new 6-unit multifamily dwellings for a total of 12 dwelling units. And there's an unspecified future development. So phase 1 includes building 1 and building number 2, and which are on 1310 Henderson, and each building is about 47.5 feet wide by 45 feet in depth. The letter of intent states that phase 2 will be future development on the southerly 90 feet with new residential buildings. So on 1294 Henderson Highway. The proposal also requires variances for building setbacks, yard setbacks, parking, and pedestrian route requirements. Under CCDS 2.0, the site is within the urban mixed-use corridors policy area. So with respect to policy alignment, the application is broadly consistent with policies and design guidelines in our Winnipeg and CCDS 2.0. There are key considerations that support intensification at this site to ensure compatible development. This includes the height and scale are compatible with the surrounding land uses. So in that, this proposal does have 2 to 3 stories and 6-unit buildings. And then the site promotes the integration of transportation in that the proposal encourages the use of high-frequency transit that runs on Henderson Highway. The proposal is broadly inconsistent with policies in our Winnipeg and CCDS in that the site design and building design pose potential negative impacts on the amenities, uses, safety, and convenience of the adjacent area. And in that the site design and building designs do not pose an injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property itself. So the recommendations from the public service is approval with conditions for the subdivision and rezoning application, and approval in part for the associated variance application. The recommended conditions on the DASZ application include plan approval and a height cap of 45 feet. And we're recommending approval of the variances for the front yard and north side yard building setbacks, as well as insufficient buffering of an accessory parking area. We're not supporting the variances for no north side yard setback to a garbage enclosure, the reduced rear yard building setback, the parking related variances, and no pedestrian route variance. For the latter, the fire department will require this pedestrian route from building 2 to Henderson Highway. We do believe an improved site design and building design can eliminate most of these variances. There is land where the applicant is proposing future development that could be used to consider alternative building orientations and layouts for parking. Overall, we do believe the proposed scale and residential intensity of building 1 and building 2 introduces a compatible new development for this corner lot on this block and in the neighborhood. That concludes my summary.
Questions of the public service at this time?
Do the public service recommendations reduce the number of units that they're proposing?
No, they're proposing 12.
And even with the changes that are proposed out of the service, it's still.
There's no cap because there's also that future development to the side, so we can't really.
So there'd still be room that they could build more on this subject property?
Yeah, it's entire half site, still entire 1310.
So the 2 units,
Two buildings are.
two buildings they're proposing would actually only use half of the land.
For the most part, yeah. about half of that.
Is closer to Irving or closer to is it a church or something there?
It's away from Irving, where there's two proposed buildings. So not right at the corner, more the,
Let me see, is there a good diagram of this here? I'm just trying to find it.
oh, yeah, sorry. To the right, on the two buildings.
Okay, so the Irving side is not being used at first.
Phase two,
It's 2 6-unit buildings
yes.
and restricted to 45 feet.
Sorry?
Their proposal, was it within the 45 feet that you're proposing?
Within 45 feet. Oh, yeah, they're about 34. Just want to give some relaxation in case, roof types changes or, yeah. And so we can also limit the height on what would go on that 1310 Henderson side.
Okay, sounds good.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all right, where are we at on the?
Okay, at this time, we will call forward the applicant, John Winthrop. John, you can just come to the front. You'll have 5 minutes to make your presentation after
That's
stating your
fine.
name.
I'd like to move 10 minutes all the time in this committee for the applicants that we have a 5 minute rule. Ridiculous. This is an application. Whenever somebody makes an application, they should have up to 10 minutes to be able to speak to their application.
Okay, so we want to move a 5-minute extension at this time.
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
I'll do that.
Okay,
All
moved by
in
Councilor
favor,
Braun.
opposed, carried. The
Yes.
10 minutes is not, 5 minutes is not enough, and we're spending thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on an application, and that's the least we can do.
I'll try to do it in 5, but let me
No,
do my
no,
presentation.
We now have 10.
I've been practicing.
You can take your money, but we don't want to give your time in court, so.
Get you to share the screen on Zoom as well.
Yeah, is it sure?
No,
Oh, okay.
let's go into the Zoom application.
That's the logo there.
There you go. And
Does
then
it
hit the
work?
green button.
The green one, share screen. Yeah, okay, thank you. All right, there we go. I'm gonna start at the back. I'm falling back this fall. So I'm here for rezoning variances subdivision. 598 days ago, I started this planning process by making an application to the city of Winnipeg for, 12 dwelling units and a 3-story building. It's a low-rise residential building. It's enabled underneath complete communities, and it aligns to council's recent June half amendments. We front onto Henderson, which is a P1 arterial, regional street, truck route, and a transit route. The D10 and the F8 roll right by our location. We need 10 variances. 3 variances are being supported by the public service. So I'm going to talk about the other variances. 5 variances are all related to the fact that the Public Works wants a lane widening. We discovered that through a pre-application that we made a couple years ago before we made the application in March of 2024, that there is a 3.78 widening of the rear public lane. That affects actually 5 variances because now our lot is being shrunk. They're not supported. One of the variances has to do with a pedestrian route. The entire pedestrian route to the front of this building, around the building, is 5 feet wide. The city of Winnipeg, it's not in the zoning bylaw, the dimension of the pedestrian route. It's in another document that the city depends on. They want it to be 59 inches. We're at 47.5 inches at 3.9 feet wide instead of 4.9, which they want right at the door. So right at the door where the door opens is where our pedestrian route shrinks from the required 59 inches to 47.5 inches. So they're opposing that variance of 11 inches right at the door, just like right where the door opens. The garbage can, let me tell you about this garbage enclosure. In the summer of 2024, we spent 129 days with the planning department and Water and Waste designing and locating that garbage enclosure. They would not accept the application until I had my garbage enclosure pre-approved by Water and Waste, which I ended up getting, so my application could be accepted in 2024. It's located at the northwest corner. It's a 6-foot tall enclosure. We're required to have a garbage bin. It's adjacent to the public lane. It's located in the exact location where there's a 2-car garage, 16 feet tall. We're gonna have a north side yard. It's against a gravel parking area for the church. The church parks on a gravel parking area right next to a garage now where a smaller garbage enclosure pre-approved by Water and Waste wants it to go. The planning department's not supporting that variance. Again, we're here for 12 units with 19 parking stalls. That's 1 unit per 1.5 parking. 598 days to get here. We believe the density in the project fits the surrounding area. We are aligning with a lot of other policies with the city of Winnipeg. I recognize there are trees on the site. We're gonna have to regrade this property. There's a lot of standing water on it every spring and sometimes in the fall that we need to address. We're gonna be building on the north side next to the church first. We're gonna have to widen that back lane. Part of the widening the back lane, the city wants concrete. We'd like to go with asphalt. That's been accepted under local improvements. The developer here would like to go with asphalt along that back lane, and we'd actually like the ability to talk to the neighbors and perhaps do a local improvement for that entire stretch of the back lane. That's an option we'd like to be able to pursue. I've heard from a few of the residents out there who are unhappy with the gravel back lane, but we're only doing our portion between the south from Irving to the north property line. We're not doing the entire back lane against the, here's some pictures of the back lane. We're just doing this portion of the back lane. We're gonna only access our site from this back lane, so that's why we're not extending it west behind the houses. Just to
Right,
wrap up,
can you show me again where the back lane?
that's the existing back lane. These
Yeah.
pictures are from
No, but show me where you're proposing to pave it, like all the way to, like from.
Irving Place right up to our north back property line. We're widening it by 3.78 feet. That's why there's,
And it's all paved in asphalt, is what you're proposing.
we like to do it as asphalt. The city wants it as
But it
concrete.
would be the entire length of the lot, the entire north
Yeah.
side, okay.
The entire 180 feet length of the lot. That's our only obligation for developing these pieces of land. We're not doing the rest of it down the back lane, which I've heard from other residents.
Going west.
Yeah, going west behind, was it down to Delboro, I want to say? I can't remember the name.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it's a weird layout. That street ends right at this back lane. It's behind the church and
Yep.
it's a gravel back lane. And then on the north side of the church is also gravel back lane behind those houses that reach along there. Is some pictures of the existing context of the property. You can see the gravel back lane. That's the garage. That's going to be removed. That's where we want to put our garbage enclosure. There is some drainage issues with the property we'd like to improve. We're about 26,000 square feet in lot area, corner lot. That's the gravel parking lot next to us to the north against the for the church. That's the church. We're across the street from the Salisbury house. Across the back lane from us is the side house of a flankage of a house that's looking west towards the rear yard of the house. As to the south of us is a house with a driveway on the Irving Place. They also have a gravel, that's our gravel back lane. We would just pave that with asphalt, ideally to the end of that stretch of the back lane. More pictures of the back lane. This is from, I think, last fall. This is Irving Place, where property is on the red dot there, the Salisbury house across the street. Again, we're a truck route, P1 collector. We have bicycle nearby. We have buses going right in front of us. We have a lot of amenities within walking distance. The zoning nearby is C2 across the street. That allows a similar density already. There's similar densities around the neighborhood. We're in the PDO for malls and corridors, but we're not applying that PDO. We're in an intensification area. Again, we're doing low-rise residential. We are on this corridor. We're an established mature community. That's the general location. Again, 3 stories, 12 units, subdivision rezoning variances. 598 days to get here, and my name's John Scott Winthrop. I'm a professional planner with the Canadian Institute of Planners. I'm certified in the United States with the American Institute of Planners. I'm accredited with LEAN, and I'm accredited with the Congress of Urbanism. Thank you.
2 minutes and 50 seconds ago. Anything else you'd like to add?
I'm trying to get these down to 5 minutes, if not 4.
Well, we didn't have to do extensions now, so is there anything else?
No, again, I think the project fits. We're looking obviously for an approval. We think the variances are justified. We can mitigate any factors. We expect to come forward for plan approval on this site as well as the site to the north. The developer has been a longtime developer in North Kildonan for many, many years, longer than I've actually been doing this. So he knows the process and understands it. And we would be coming forward, hopefully in a more timely manner, to get some construction going on these properties.
There'd be an opportunity to potentially look at landscaping and perhaps the building elevations if we wanted to
Yes,
class up the exterior look of it maybe a little bit.
yes. We absolutely know we're required to put drawings into the city of Winnipeg to be able to get to a public hearing, at least we are. To get it deemed complete and processed to a hearing where we have to provide details such as I need the garbage enclosure fully designed and spec'd out. That's required. Of course, we understand plan approval would be a condition of approval, has been for the last, since like the late 70s. We would then come forward for plan approval with the area counselor in the area to find something that's desirable in terms of landscaping, bicycle parking. I don't really want to redo the garbage enclosure. All the other details we think we can address through plan approval.
So in terms of your request, I mean, you have the obligation to pave in concrete right now, the lane to the north property limit. You'd be open to a potential local improvement beyond that?
When I was out talking to residents, and so not so much this committee, but also in other committees, I do local improvements. I volunteer my time helping residents with local improvements in St. Boniface and St. Vital lately.
Yeah.
I've got about 5 or 6 that have moved forward. You need at least 60% of the people. I think I'm going to get one advertised shortly where I had 61% of the people. And in that process, the city of Winnipeg will then actually cover, if it gets approved by the residents, will cover 50% of the cost of transforming that gravel into asphalt. It's a wonderful program.
Yeah.
I've been helping a lot of neighbors, like I said, down in St. Vital over the last 2 years, I'd say now, doing that. Because they want to transform their gravel back lanes into asphalt.
And you've been able to put in like a clause in hearings like this that are like, hey, if this is not successful, local improvement,
We would still have to pave the back lane.
your
Yeah,
portion.
yeah. But we want the opportunity to do the local improvement. I think other residents may, if they're speaking today or have sent in, might be asking for their back portion of the back lane. That's what I've heard just talking out to people. But I didn't go door to door on this one yet. To be able to do that, I need someone to sponsor me as the owner to get the local improvement block or in North Kildonan yet.
Okay. Cool.
And the back lane is pretty rough back there, so.
Picture sort of bore that out and I've heard
Yeah.
about it.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Winthrop. We'll come back to you, which you have the right as an applicant to speak to anything you hear. Nothing new to add, but anything that you hear from the other delegations. So
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, our next speaker in support of the application is Cassandra McLeod, joining us over Zoom. Cassandra, I'm just gonna ask you to unmute and turn on your video.
Hi there, I'm Cassandra McLeod for the Wendy's restaurants on Henderson Highway. Yeah, I'm just here to answer any questions that you guys may have.
And who are you?
I'm one of the franchisees,
Oh, a franchisees. What does that mean?
one of the owners.
One of the owners. Okay.
Yes.
I see. Okay. Any questions does anybody have? No?
No.
We don't have any questions?
No, let's see.
Okay,
Why did you choose the separate buildings and the small ones like this?
I'm sorry?
Why did you choose small buildings and potentially 4 buildings on the site as opposed to a bigger one?
We would have liked to have had a bigger one, but there definitely was not enough room here to support the parking, the drive-through, the garbage dumpster. Yeah, but we believe this new plan will be great in serving the customers here.
And you're looking at rentals or condos or?
This is Wendy's restaurant.
No.
Just a point of clarification, I think there may have been some confusion. The public hearing registration form was filled out by Cassandra.
Oh.
Because we have 2 files on Henderson, I believe it was Cassandra's intent to speak to the Wendy's plan approval. At this time, Cassandra will let you know that the Wendy's plan approval has been approved by the committee previously. My
Okay,
for the confusion.
perfect.
I'm surprised this doesn't happen more often, but okay, here we are.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you so much. Sorry about that.
My apologies.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we've never had that happen before. That's a new one.
I'm surprised, 19 years,
All the
right?
I've been here, I've never had that. Oh, that's okay. That's all right. Well, about it, Brett. It's good. It's good.
We'll remove Sandra from the speakers list on this item.
So moved.
With that said, we don't have anyone else registered to speak in support of this application. Just looking to the gallery, is there anyone else here to speak in support of this application?
Not for Wendy's.
And is there any? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this application? And is there anyone to speak for information on this application? Seeing none, we could go to questions for the administration.
Okay, let's go through the differences between what you're recommending and what the client is, and what the applicant is asking for.
For the variances?
Well, okay, let's see. The subdivision rezoning, I think we're okay with, right? There's no differences from what they applied for and what your.
It's-
So it's all the variances.
Just the heights, the plan approval and height,
Sorry?
just the plan approval and height.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So let's move on then to variances.
So the three that we support are the front yard building setback.
Yep.
The north side yard building setback.
Yeah.
And then there's one for insufficient buffering of accessory parking area.
Okay, so then let's go to 1C. No north side yard instead of 2 feet. So this is
Yeah, it should be minimum of 2 feet. They're proposing 0 feet.
this is really their garbage enclosure. It's a fence. It's
Yeah.
not actually a building.
No,
And it's against their fence to the, it's against the fence of this church parking lot, gravel parking lot.
yeah, it's zero.
Okay.
Property line, basically, setback, sorry.
All right, so intention is to support variance 1C. Okay, 1D, a rear yard of 24 feet instead of 25 feet. That seems pretty insignificant. Why is that being objected to?
Again, it's just based on, there's a whole half of the lot. There could be a different site design, a different building layout, parking layout. That 1 feet could be easily met as well.
Okay, so 2A, front yard of 5 feet instead of 36 feet. There's a lot of unused space on this lot. Okay,
Okay, yeah, basically the parking is basically right up against Henderson Highway.
parking.
Perpendicular to them.
Yeah, two-way. Perpendicular, sorry.
There's some buffering. There's a landscaping buffer.
Make sure.
8.5.
Yeah, it looks significant.
1A, it says mentions a front yard of, okay. Accessory parking area to the middle. I see, so parking is too close. It's the parking.
2A?
Mhm.
Yeah, 2A is the front yards, 5 feet instead of 36 feet to the parking area.
Okay. Now, there is no vehicular access from Henderson. It's all from the public lane, right?
Yes.
Okay. Parking stall lengths of 20 feet instead of 23 feet. For stalls directly from the public lane. Okay, so just the handful back there. Okay. Parking spaces within 10 feet of a window to a habitable room instead of where the sill is located 5 feet from the grade. Parking stall widths of 8 feet instead of 10 feet for stalls adjacent to a wall or fence. So what is the normal?
Sorry, what is
So I'm looking at 2E.
Yeah.
So which stalls does this impact?
it basically is a lot of the ones against that side. Basically the 1 to 15.
1 through 15? Yeah, see, these are 8.
There's
Besides
a
besides
few
the
that,
handicap stalls, these are 8 feet. The parking stalls of 8 feet instead of 10 for stalls adjacent to a wall or fence.
we stall 1. It's only 8 feet.
What's the parking ratio?
1.5, I think.
1.5.
1.5 is being met.
Yes. Okay, pedestrian route that will not be, Developed in accordance with pedestrian connection designs. Okay, then John explained. Okay. How often do we do 8-foot parking stalls? Like, what's the difference? Like, how often? Like, give me some examples of places where we have 8-foot stalls versus 10.
We generally haven't been supporting that because you can't maneuver.
Okay.
Things maneuver or in and out, especially when it begins.
Well, I mean, the majority of stalls look like they're 8 feet.
Difficult to maneuver the width, in terms of the width of the lane coming in.
Yeah, because as you come in through the drive aisle, parking aisle.
Right.
Basically,
Turn in and I think they're already short, you said, right?
we've done
Or those are
9,
just the ones off the lane.
the 8 feet versus 10 feet, that's the stall number 1.
No, I mean, if you look at them, there's a whole bunch of them that are 8.
Those are fine, because they're not abutting like a wall or
Oh, I see.
a pump.
So you're only concerned about stall 1.
And stall 9, the garbage included.
Stall 19 against the, oh yeah, I see what you mean there. Okay.
And then the pedestrian route one, I get the number.
Sorry, 2F, that's me, yeah.
Fire, as mentioned, the fire department requires this walkway.
Yeah, it just didn't mean it by the door, like, who cares? Okay. Okay,
What is the width of the drive aisle coming in? 20 feet
20
in width?
width, yes.
Okay, so that's, so what's the concern, I guess, in terms of, I don't understand the concern with regards to vehicles being able to turn in and out.
the issue is, I guess, having some sort of wall or a fence is, I guess, potentially on that stall 1, and for sure on stall 19 against the garbage enclosure. So on 8 feet, you can't necessarily open the door with the wall there. I think
It's
it's
a
what.
question of where you place it.
Well, maybe stall 1 and 19 if there's some way to add an extra couple feet.
Any other questions about the public services at the time?
What is the wall there on stall 1? Is it like a fence or?
I guess we can adjust that during plan approval.
Sorry, I may be wrong, it's probably just a stall 19 for sure. Because that's by the garbage enclosure wall.
Good question. And-
Supported as low as like 9 feet.
Yeah.
But yes, it's the 8 feet where you.
Yep.
Just as you mentioned, it's not terribly practical.
Parking lot. And in terms of what the applicant was saying in terms of a condition that will allow them to go and canvass the neighborhood and perhaps do a larger lane pavement, but require them, if that were to fail, to still pay their obligation. Do you have the language to do something like that? Yeah, that's correct.
I'm subject to plan approval, a community committee?
Yeah.
Okay, no other questions. We have others. You were registered here to speak.
It's for the next hearing.
Oh, that's the next hearing. Thank you. I just want to point out, we have our applicant who can come up and respond. Do you wish to respond to anything at this time, Mr. Woodruff? Sure.
Yeah, I guess I have a follow-up question. In regards to stall 19 in particular, is there any way that okay, I know you don't want to redesign the garbage enclosure, can we?
Yeah, I don't want to read out everything else. I'm willing to design. So let me just explain to you the zoning bylaw and then practicality. The zoning bylaw says if you're next to a fence or a wall or garbage enclosure, you gotta have a 10-foot wide stall.
Yeah.
The zoning bylaw also says if you want an accessible parking stall, it should be 10 feet. So a lot of people put the garbage enclosure right next to the accessible stall. On this one, we actually put the accessible stall, if you can see slightly to the left, stall 19, 18, 17, 16, right next to the walkway. If you look at stall 1, because I think that's a little bit more better, instead of like putting it, it's a little bit closer to the door, somebody with accessibility is next to the walkway, either them or their partner, if they're their passenger getting out has a walkway, and they get to the door a little easier. Same thing if you look at the other stalls. Stall one, it's not 10 feet wide, but there's gonna be a walkway there, ideally in the plan approval that if you're got a little bit of mobility, I might be 8 feet stall, but you're probably gonna function as a mobility stall because it's the closest stall to the door into a walkway and I can get in. So I look at the zoning bylaw, it says, here's where the 10-foot stalls go. And then the zoning bylaw says, here's where the accessibility stalls are supposed to be in terms of width. I try to put the accessibility stalls closer to the doors. Doesn't match up with the zoning bylaw all the time. So, but I'm happy to move around stalls or lengths or widths or whatever. At the end of the day, I think my client's looking to build a building here with the number of dwelling units. Site plan, we can deal with it. If there's new variances that are triggered because we designed something, then we'll come back and get more variances. That's common, happens all the time after rezoning.
My only, I guess, sort of hang up right now is looking at those stalls that are off the lane.
Yeah.
And in particular, stall 19, is it just the 2 stalls that are tagged for visitors or all 4 there along the?
Yeah, we would make all 4 visitor, I think we're required to have 4 visitor parking
Alright, in
stalls.
terms of the
We can,
building code, can you put the accessible stall next to the garbage enclosure to get the 10 feet there?
yeah,
You're allowed to do that?
yes,
Even though it's not as close to the door?
yeah,
Okay.
not, whether it's practical or functional, I'll put it there then if I need to.
Well, I mean, there is a functionality issue here too. I mean, 8 feet is tight and the driver's side door is going to be the one that's up against the wall, so. You know, it was the visitor stall and like you know, single person living there, maybe that would be their stall.
Yeah, happy to share.
Reality would be that you're opening your door into that wall.
I have a parking stall, 8 feet stall wide in Osborne Village right next to fence, so I know all about that.
All right.
So I live with that every day, or I used to. I don't have a car anymore.
He rides in the pub tour.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
There you go.
I'm on my couch all day long with
There
a
you
pug
go.
dog working.
So, quick question I have, and this is the question you'll probably have to take under advisement, not to answer here today, but the client you have is Mr. Bernard Gertson of Global Homes, is that correct?
Yes.
Why isn't Mr. Gertson building something bigger and better here? I mean, he has the ability, he's been in business for a long time and he has the depth and
Yeah,
experience.
Lenny's person, that exactly.
Has the knowledge and I just, why is he not building something of concrete construction with underground parking on Henderson, major transportation route? I know what he's trying to do here. He's trying to build one project, you know, one building at a time, a little bit at a time, but, and I know he's very conservative when it comes to his business, but I know he's probably got enough ability to do something like that at this time. And it's something that this committee would be very open to, I think. Especially on Henderson Highway. Why, you know, maybe don't answer the question, but rather more of a comment to take it back to him. Because, you know, he's a very credible developer. He's done a lot of good things in our area at Northeast Winnipeg. And it's something that I think he's maybe looking a gift horse in the mouth in terms of the value on the land, what he could potentially do instead. I mean, I kind of see him more of in the ilk of Martin Bergen, right? Versus, you know, what he might have been 20 years ago, right? Where he is today. And so I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, good question. He's owned these properties for a while. We went through a pre-application stage with the city of Winnipeg. Before we filed the application, understood that, you know, what they were prepared to support and not support. Of course, that was a couple of years ago before the half amendments. When we filed this application, again, even before the half amendments were even talked about, it's taken 600 days to get here. The policy certainly has changed. There's more, you know, we'll take a look at what the current policies are, but certainly I would say even, you know, 600 days ago, it wasn't exactly being supportive and enabled by the public service. Multifamily large, in my opinion, fits here. We went with a conservative to try to get it across the line to get something approved. And even still, we're getting not entirely support for the project. So going to something like multifamily large, yeah, that might be a possibility down the road. Now that ideally, if your committee approves this and he looks and he's got multifamily medium, that allows maybe a 6 to 8 story building. I can take that, or he can look at that and go, is that something worthwhile pursuing? Or is that something in the marketplace that he can get funding for, financing, looking at the mortgage rate, depending where that is, what CMHC financing is. Right now, these are low scale, small scale wood frame buildings, low built underneath a smaller building code. Going to something bigger is a more substantial financing to be able to make it work. Once he's got zoning, then he has something he can either, you know, sell that land to somebody else who looks at the zoning and go, I'm gonna try for something a little bit more than RFM large and go through this process again, or be happy with small, multi-family medium and do, 4 to 6.
Need a
or-
conditional use then if you were to go to from RMF?
No, the multiple family, like right now, we're only doing 1 unit per, I think, 1,000 square feet. We can do under RFM medium 1 unit per 800 square feet.
So it doesn't prevent him from doing density. A change plan could come forward later.
Yeah, right now we're going through this process to rezone it, which
Yeah,
is to,
there you
I've heard the city call it seeing the housing possibilities.
Right.
We're gonna get the rezoning, consolidate the lots, open the lane, look at the costs, and then he might be able to do something a little bit bigger than what we're proposing, but that's not his plan today.
Well, I know, he's, I think, is it a separate time zone or same time zone?
He's down in South America, sitting in an airport right now, trying to get down to, a lot of,
Uruguay is or Paraguay?
yeah, Paraguay. He's, a lot of Mennonites from Winnipeg,
I think he has a
immigrated
very
to-
small ranch, the equivalent of the size of Winnipeg now.
Yeah.
But anyway, but cattle is a big business down there. So anyway, wish him the best. If you could pass on the comments from the committee and that, it's something that it would be something you could entertain. We're in a housing crisis in the city. Anything that we can do, especially on major corridors where we have bus routes, I think it's something we've entertained, right? I can't speak for Council Bellotti, this is his ward, but I see him nodding, so. Anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I move that the report of Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
First, if you just give me the language here, I'd like to open up the opportunity to have the applicant canvass the neighborhood to do potentially a local improvement for an asphalt paved lane. But if that were to fail, the applicant would still be required to pave and asphalt the lane from Irving to the north property line.
I just sent you the verbiage.
Check my email. Okay, so I move, so appendix B, section 4, clause 1, I'm gonna add condition C as below. C, in the event that the lane is constructed as pavement under the local improvement program prior to application for development permits, the construction requirement in clause 1A shall be deemed satisfied. The developer shall instead be required to pay their share of the lane improvements as determined by and to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works, consistent with the development agreement parameters. And I guess in A there, I want to change from 6.0 meter wide Portland's cement concrete pavement to asphalt.
Questions from the clerk on that?
Sorry, where was the change requested? Just
Also up in
addition
A,
C?
up in A.
Okay,
So in that email there where it's.
okay, Portland cement, concrete, change that to asphalt,
Cement.
asphalt cement. Okay. All right.
So I move the public service recommendation be concurrent with that amendment and additional clause and forwarded to the Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed,
My
carried.
supporting reasons are this is a logical amount of densification for Henderson Highway. It improves the pavement of that back lane. There was no public opposition here at today's hearing. And again, it's on a high density transit route. And those are my reasons.
Excellent. Any other comments on this? No, seeing none. I too support the application and it's good to see the transformation along Henderson Highway. I know we have some major servicing issues to the north in your ward. Hopefully we can sort those out on lands that we recently sold to an individual and they're having real difficulty sorting out the numbers on that one. Glad to see that there's obviously capacity in this area of the underground. Hopefully that's the case. And hopefully we can see more of a transformation along Henderson as we've seen along Regent Avenue in terms of this to support increasing densities in our city and growth. So all hearing the comments by Councilor Bellotti and the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All in favor, opposed, carried.
On to the variance. Okay, I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those carried.
I move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All in favor? Those carried.
I move that in accordance with subsection 2473 of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance A is consistent with Plan Winnipeg and any applicable secondary plan. B does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by a street or waterway. C is no modification of the zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property. And D is compatible with the area in which the property to be satisfied is situated. This looks like a good project. The fact that they are still doing the full 1.5 parking stalls when this area is on a high frequency transit route. If they were to do something mixed use, they could get all sorts of discounts on parking. So I'm quite happy to see the large amount of parking that is being still proposed in this development. And I will be making some changes to the public service recommendation in the next clause, but I believe that happens after this particular vote.
Any other comments on the motion? All in favor? Those carried.
In regards to the next clause here, I move that the recommendation of Winnipeg Public Service not be concurred in.
I believe be concurred in with the following amendment.
Okay, be concurred in with the following amendments. That the variances in clause 1C and 1D be supported
Okay, as applied for.
as applied for. That clause 2A to C. In 2E, I want to ensure that the parking stall closest to the enclosure, stall as identified as stall 19 on the plan, be 10 feet. But otherwise that the variance be accepted as in 2E.
So as applied for with the exception of stall identified as 19 in the plans?
Correct.
Hmm.
That would likely mean stall 16 would be reduced to 8 feet, which I'm okay with. Basically, so let's move the accessible stall from stall 16 to stall 19.
Okay.
If that's clearer.
Okay.
And I support variance 2F.
Understood.
Okay.
That's my motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Those carried.
And and that the variance be approved. Did I say that as well, just to be clear?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Those carried.
I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those carried.
Okay, so for the subdivision and rezoning, please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representations are permitted on the subdivision and rezoning. All persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council. And for the variance, please note that the committee's decision with respect to this application may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the order issued, which will be mailed to all persons registered.
Okay, we are finished that item. We have the third item on our agenda. I know everybody's been waiting patiently, many people in the gallery. We're just going to take a health break. I want to reiterate the fact that we have some people registered. If you haven't filled out one of these forms and you wish to speak, please do so. They're over here at the front desk when you come in, and give them to the clerk, because otherwise we won't be able to call you up. We'll just take a 5-minute break and we'll come back to allow folks to do that. Thank you. Okay, we're here to hear item number 3. I'll get the clerk to read the item into the room.
Item 3 is a rezoning at 637 Edison Avenue under file BAZ 213/2025 in accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw. This is a combined hearing, and the following item will also be heard at the same time. Namely, item 4 is a variance at 637 Edison Avenue under file DAV 156017/2025D. Please note communications were received in support of and in opposition to the matter, which have been distributed to all members of the committee. The process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Next, those registered in opposition and those registered for information. The applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made, however, no new information is permitted. Speakers will be permitted 5 minutes for their presentations. All participants on Zoom have been muted and will only be permitted to speak when called upon. I'll turn it over to the administration for a brief overview.
The subject property is on the northwest corner of Edison and Rowley Street in the Rossmere A neighborhood of the North Kildonan Ward. The subject site is 8,148 square feet in area and occupied by a 1.5-story single-family dwelling with a detached garage. The applicant proposes to rezone the subject from R1L to RMFM to construct a 5-unit multifamily dwelling. The proposed building is about 55 feet in width and 48 feet in length, and the building height is about 24 feet. With respect to policy alignment, this property is in an established neighborhoods, mature communities. Policy occasions broadly consistent with the policies and design guidelines in our Winnipeg, Complete Communities Direction Strategy 2.0 and the infill guidelines. So again, some key considerations that support intensification is that the site is on a corner lot with frontage on both Edison and Raleigh Street. These are both collector streets, so it provides an opportunity to accommodate increased density within lower density neighborhoods in a manner that reduces the number of properties that are potentially impacted by higher intensity development. And this corner lot is also much larger than most of the other lots on the block of Edison Avenue. So lots about 2,500 square feet larger than typical lots on this block. And this allows for a greater variety of housing options. There's also an active transportation path adjacent to the subject site, and the pedestrian network provides accessible and multiple connections to amenities such as schools, parks, and open spaces. Again, the site also flanks Raleigh, and Gateway, where there is high frequency transit to connect to downtown, as well as the local and regional amenities and services in the area. Waterways also confirms there's adequate servicing to support the proposal. So our recommendation is approval with conditions of the rezoning application and an approval in part of the associated variance. The recommended conditions on rezoning include a plan approval and a height cap of 35 feet and a dwelling unit cap of 5 units. We're recommending approval of the variances for the lot area, building setbacks, no assigned guest parking. However, we do not support the insufficient street edge and no building foundation landscaping variances, as we believe these can be accommodated with an approved site design. Overall, we believe the proposed scale, residential intensity, and design introduces a compatible new development for the corner lot on this block and in the neighborhood. That concludes my summary. Happy to answer your questions.
One of my big hangups still on the site is why is it the only lot between Springfield and McLeod that goes so far east? Like, why are we not making them give up? Like, if you continue, like, if you look at page 22 of the rezoning, why do not draw a line continuing that angle where the lot to the north ends, continue that angled line going up to Edison Avenue, just to keep like the width of the public right of way the same? Why is this the only spot where it's wider?
We did reach out to Public Works.
I still don't have a good explanation. You have nothing new?
Nothing new from.
My ADHD is like killing me here because this is so inconsistent with everything from Springfield to McLeod, and there has to be a reason.
I mean, I'm looking at the hydro poles that are coming down that portion of Edison, on Raleigh, and they do sort of end right where those homes to the north are, and then they continue south again. So I feel that could be a reason, but again, I'm just observations there. Nothing Public Works confirmed.
What is the setback along Edison?
For the building, they're proposing, I believe 5.
You believe or
6.
you know?
For the they're proposing 6 feet.
That's 6 feet? That can't be right. I'm talking about from Edison to the front of the building.
Oh, with the actual right of way?
I'm talking about the setback.
For the proposal?
No, well, what else are we talking about here? Yeah,
Yeah, they're proposing 6
6 feet?
6 feet, 5.5.
That doesn't look right according to my drawing here. I'm seeing something much more than that. I'm seeing 12 feet.
Oh, towards the back, yes, sorry, but
No,
there's,
I'm talking about along Edison Avenue. I'm 13 feet, 0.7 1 8 setback
How zoning.
on
counts.
Edison.
Oh, on Edison.
Edison.
My bad. Yes, Edison is about 17 at one spot.
Yeah.
But then on the corner closest.
Right.
It's a little shorter there.
Yeah, 17, and what is that? What's that? 13.7. Yeah, okay, so that's what I'm talking about. So then, that's all right. And Edison is really the frontage, which is where you have the homes to the west
West.
on, right? And what is the average setback there?
So the abutting ones, I mean, there's only one abutting.
Right.
It came in as about 23 feet.
Okay.
And then the rest for the block itself, it came in at about 27 feet.
The frontage, okay, so it's a little tighter on Edison, but they're still having a 17-foot setback nearest the other home, which is 25 feet. Now, do we have any windows on the western wall?
There are a few windows, yes. For the.
Which elevation is that? Looking at the lane.
Drawings, it would be.
Is that number 3, the left elevation, I'm assuming? Or is that considered the rear elevation, number 2? Because it's not very clear here. You have, do you see what I'm saying, Councilor Bellotti?
No, sorry, what are you saying?
Sorry, the elevations are not clear which way they're facing. Now, one is right Raleigh, so that's clear. The other one is front Edison, but left elevation, rear elevation. What is considered rear here? Where the parking is, or is that on the western wall? This is what happens when you don't hire an architect, you hire a design architectural technician. So which is the elevation that we should be considering the western elevation?
That would be number on page 25. It's the one left.
Left elevation? We
It's the
think,
side.
we know.
It's the side closest to the neighboring.
Is it?
property.
Okay, so the left elevation is technically the west elevation.
West, yes.
Um, You have 4 windows there.
Yes.
Can they be glazed?
I don't know if they're glazing them, but yes, they can certainly be glazed to help with privacy.
Okay.
We did note that the abutting neighbor, doesn't look like there are actually any windows on that side.
They think there's no windows?
There, so for the neighbor on the west side, there are few windows on the front and east side of that neighboring house.
Why does that matter?
Because we wanna have privacy impacts minimized. We're looking at the setbacks there, but also if there's window glazing on that side of
Okay.
the building.
Yeah, but still they'll be looking into their yard too, right? So. Especially on the second floor.
It's a driveway, but yes.
Yeah,
some-
be looking-
Some of the rear windows, yes.
Yeah, so we could do glazing there if necessary.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Anything else? Any other questions of public service? No?
How wide does the ditch need to be, like even here, like just, something is still freaking off here.
The ditches?
Yeah.
The big ditch there.
No, it's tiny, it looks like they've covered it over right now.
Okay.
Is the ditch entirely in the public right of way, or is it, like, it doesn't look like it's been maintained, which isn't unusual along there, but. There's no land drainage in Raleigh.
Some of that appears to be east of the property line,
East of the property.
like the ditch itself.
Okay.
Is to the east. Because there's a,
How wide does it isn't required to be. I said Curtis can leave, unfortunately.
Going up and down. Look at that. Tell us what that.
That's the, just on.
What was the question, Council Body? The ditch? Right, no, width of a ditch?
Yeah, is
There's
it,
no
what is it?
ditch, you said.
Well, there should be a ditch.
Well,
There was a ditch. You can see a culvert for the driveway, but their ditch is otherwise filled in.
Well, I guess that's what it is.
Wow. In theory, Public Works, if there's a drainage problem there, they can go in there and excavate tomorrow if they, so need.
Apparently, there's no land drainage issue according with this application.
Ah,
That's what I heard from the public service, so. There you have your answer, so.
Okay.
Yeah, quick question of the public service. It was raised in the last meeting about getting an architect in on this. Has that happened with the applicant? Are you aware of it? Have they contracted with an architect yet at this point?
I'm not aware.
Okay. Because I know that's something that was raised as a concern. I look at the design that they have here and it's quite. I mean, why would I want to live in a building where I park on one side, I gotta haul my groceries in all the way around on the other side to have access? Doesn't make any sense to me. But that's how they have the design, from what I can see here. Is that not correct? Right?
There are some, yeah, there are some primary entrances along Edison and the parking is.
And the building looks quite honestly, it's a substandard design itself. Typically done by a whole, architectural technician. But in terms of the prominence of this location on the corner, it should have deserved a far better treatment, but that's just my take. Anyway, all right, we'll jump into other delegations. We have the applicant, or you have any questions?
no, I'm good.
Okay,
No.
let's, who's, can I get the list of the slips there?
It's on the other side of the PCG form that I had given you. I think it might be the third sheet in your stack there.
All right, okay. The applicant is Abdullah Akram Chahari. Could you come forward, sir? Thank you. And Councilor Roy, move 5-minute extension, give 10 minutes to the applicant.
So moved. Yeah.
All in favor, opposed, carried. You have 10 minutes, sir. And the applicant. Yes, sir.
So I'm the applicant for 637 Edison.
You have to speak up.
I'm the applicant for the 637 Edison Avenue,
Yeah.
and we're proposing 5 units. We have been working with the planning department for about close to 2 years now.
You have to speak up, sir.
We're working with the planning department for over 2 years, close to 2 years by now. We were shown support for 6 units in the beginning, but the owner wanted 5-unit townhouse style building. There were lots of back and forth over the time with Public Works, zoning, planning, water and waste. So all of those comments were incorporated into the design over the time.
Who are you, sir?
Abdullah?
No, who are you if you're not the owner?
No, I'm the designer for the building.
Oh, so you're a home sketch.
Yes, I'm.
Are you an architect?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm a designer.
I see.
I have a bachelor's in architecture, but I'm not an architect.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, this is your chance to speak to the application, sir.
Sure, so first of all, sorry, I was not able to attend the last meeting. I've gone through the recording, and there were some issues regarding the parking. So we are proposing one-to-one parking, and since this lot is huge enough to accommodate 6 units, and we can have 6 parking stalls, I spoke to the owner, and they are okay to bear the cost of, so we can propose a 6 parking stall to accommodate the extra parking. So to answer the question or the concern regarding the parking for this development. Secondly, there was an issue regarding the balcony, which can be a privacy issue for the neighbors. We are also open to remove the balcony if that's a bigger concern on the western side. For the front yard, I've heard the discussion. The planner for the area proposed to us that
There's no balcony on the western side.
there's one on the front, but somebody in the last hearing brought up the balcony issue from
But you
the.
just said you could remove the balcony in the western yard. There's no balcony on the.
No, there's one on the Edison, facing Edison,
Yeah.
which is close to the corner, but somebody brought from the opposition that the balcony could be a privacy issue for the neighbor. Well, I mean, if that's an issue, like we can get rid of that one. So parking, balconies, height was brought up. I don't think height is 24 feet. There's no basement to this building, so the height of the building is pretty much low. We are allowed to go up to 35 feet, so that's already quite low in terms of height. So the 2 variances for insufficient landscaping and foundation landscaping, we can work with the planning again to accommodate those extra plants, to accommodate those. Public Works, we have worked with them for the driveway coming from Raleigh and the parkings, they're okay with that. Water and Waste, we have a civil engineer, Bonds and Duncan, they worked on it, and they shown that this development is feasible for the water and waste we have on site. So yeah, I mean, overall, I would say this is a lesser of the max use as per the planner in the beginning. I believe it's February 2024. We were told we can do 6 units on this lot. However, the owners, they wanted townhouse style, and that's the.
Who are the owners?
There are some developers.
Who are they?
One of the representative from the owners.
Who owns it? Who's the developer?
The David Phillips is his name.
Who?
David Phillips.
David?
Phillips.
How do you spell that?
Amy who owns it, and David Phillips is the representative.
David who?
David Phillips is the representative from the owner.
How do you spell the last name?
PH.
Sorry, sir, you're out of order. You're out of order. Who's
PHILLIPS.
Phillips, David Phillips. And the name of the company?
I don't know. It's the person who reached out to me.
So we don't really know so who's contracted you?
David Phillips.
Okay, first, he doesn't have an LTD or he's not incorporated?
I'm not sure of that.
Who's your contract with? Him?
Yep.
I see. Okay. All right.
Have you had a public open house to talk to the neighbors about this development?
No, I was not.
Anybody
I
else?
forgot.
Did the public service recommend that you talk to the public service? Or-
Yeah, in the early stages, they did recommend it, and I forwarded the recommendation to the owners. Or
You
the
forwarded the which?
recommendation to the representative.
And they didn't want to do the consultation.
I'm not sure what they did on that.
You didn't do consultation.
No, I did not do the public.
And today you're registered as the applicant.
Yes.
And so you reached out to the owner or your contact or the person who hired you. And to the best of your knowledge, they didn't do a public.
To the best of my knowledge, I don't think so.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any other questions of the applicant either.
And well, do you have any idea why this lot goes so far east compared to everything else along Raleigh?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I was paying attention to when you made this comment. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear, is there anybody else the clerk speak?
So that concludes those who had pre-registered to speak in support of the application. Is there anyone else in the gallery who would like to speak in support of the application? Seeing none, we can move on to those in opposition.
So the first person I have here in opposition is Kaylee McIntosh. I understand she's with us on Zoom.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask you to start your video and unmute your mic, and you'll have 5 minutes to make your presentation.
Hello, yes, I'm here. To answer your question about why it's so far on the east side, just looking at the Winnipeg tax map, that's where the property goes to, I think, because it's a 1936 property. It was the original one in the neighborhood where everything else was built in the 60s. So
I got
There-
that, Haley, but my question is, was there a reason that every development to both north and the south, city didn't let them build into that strip? Like, was there a plan at some point for something that needed to go into that strip? Do we need to do water or sewer under there in the future? Do we wanna put in 4 lanes on Raleigh? I mean, it just seems inconsistent and that really gets under my skin. So anyway,
I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm actually in opposition, so I'm
yes,
happy with ambiguity.
there.
My only other comment was the waste and water. They didn't say that this particular project was okay. They said as long as it did not increase the drainage and the total remained the same, it was approved. So when I read the report, it didn't say anything about this very particular thing, although I am using Google documents, so I may not have read it. But basically, I did submit in writing, but just to summarize my points is that I was concerned about how far it comes out onto towards Edison Avenue because Edison and Raleigh, it's an uphill slope and you're coming into 60-kilometer traffic. Having it set so far forward reduces your visibility to get out onto it. And because Springfield and Raleigh is an uncontrolled intersection now, there's no stop signs, there's never a natural break in traffic. I was concerned with the design. It's a 3-story, whereas the most in the neighborhood is a 2-story. I appreciate that they're interested to add an extra parking stall, but that's it's 5 units, it's 1 stall. You might have solved 1 out of the 5 problems. And also we have a lot of redevelopment on Edison, which is good for density, but it's really created a lot of parking issues, particularly in the winter time where there's nowhere for people to put these cars. So they leave them there and they're not towed for whatever reason. And you end up with massive windrows, or not windrows, ice bumps. So you can't actually go both ways on Edison during the winter anymore. And I'm concerned that this issue is now going to sort of travel up into sort of a speedier area where there's also pedestrian traffic crossing and no real easy way to get there. My concern also with lack of frontage is not only sightlines, but to fit it into the neighborhood, to make sure it's enhanced and looks like it's a part of it, not some random thing that doesn't quite match. So this neighborhood has setback 27, and I think this is at max wanting, I heard me say 17. The drawing to me is not a straight line. It comes out and in when I see the drawing on Realtor. So I don't know what would be the max and min, but people choose these neighborhoods because of frontages and increases safety because people see each other, they interact. And in other newer neighborhoods, like in West St. Paul, it's actually a requirement to have a certain amount of front yard to encourage some of this. I don't know if I have any other concerns. I think if we could perhaps make it in maybe to have a 2-unit or something, like if they said a townhouse is what they're looking for, like a 2-unit side-by-side 2-story townhouse would really alleviate a lot of people's concerns, I think. I have it all in writing there, so I apologize. I'm not super organized, but do you have any questions or concerns of what I have mentioned?
No, appreciate your delegations.
I have a question. We've heard that they've been talking to the city for 2 years and there was no public consultation that you're aware of?
There's no public consultation. I've asked my parents, who are the ones that lived in the neighborhood. I've asked other neighbors. We've gone repeatedly to check since the last meeting if there's any new signages. No one has ever heard anything.
Have you been able to meet at all or get any kind of information from the property owner since the last, did they reach out to you since the last hearing?
No, that's what we were specifically looking for. And the people who live there are renters. And I don't think they really know who actually owns it.
Well, we can't seem to find that out either. So, anyway, well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, our next speaker in opposition to the project is Pat Prevost. Pat, if you'd like to come forward, you'll have 5 minutes to make your presentation after you state your name. And a written communication has also been provided today.
yes, I have a copy of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a copy of the council one?
Yes. Thank you. My name is Pat Prevost, Patricia Prevost.
Carry on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The neighbors I spoke with, as I continue to walk door to door, adding 58 signatures to my petition, fully opposed the proposed changes as it does not fit into the community. Many of the signatures from people seeking me out at my own home. This shows how involved our community is. We still want to maintain a single-family area on the east side of Edison Avenue. However, if a multifamily building is approved, we are asking that it be limited to a 2-unit property in line with the existing homes and not taller than the existing homes. Also, they should also allow for adequate parking within the property as requested by the neighbors. As Councillor Brody mentioned at the last meeting, I trust the city will buy back some of the property at 637 Edison, noted as the park buffer, to be consistent with the rest of the properties from Springfield to McLeod. This would aid in our safety concerns of visibility at the stop sign as discussed at the last meeting. As Councillor Wyatt questioned at the last meeting, I trust that it will be confirmed that a registered architect will be part of any approval plans or the appropriate governing body who can confirm drainage will not be an issue on this property. The street incline at Edison near the stop sign clearly shows the downhill projection at this corner. Although this is not an issue currently, it could be if the neighboring home is 6 feet from the driveway or the property line, as it is currently proposed. My garage is near the property line, and my driveway is the only separation between the property line and my home. Elevation issues could seriously affect my property when there is a quick thaw and then followed by freezing temperatures on my driveway or drainage towards my foundation, especially in the winter, as I've seen in other properties where the elevation is higher between two neighboring properties. I'm sure the owner of the property always intended to rebuild because of the quick sale of this property, knowing that they had major foundation issues and the lack of presence for months after purchasing. I feel they did not respect the neighbors who already live in our area. We in the area show respect to the neighborhood in lawn care and just neighborhood requirements. The home remained unlived in with no obvious renovations or even presence at the home for many months. And when the summer came and the grass grew quite tall, the grass was only cut because I reached out to my friends for the selling agent's information. They conveyed my concerns and my friend's young teenager was hired to mow it a few times. Had I not asked, I'm unsure how much care would have been given to our neighborhood by the owner of the property. As it is now, many have commented that it is not being cared for by the people renting it. They actually thought it was abandoned. Now the renters I'm familiar with are doing their best. But as another example of the owner not upholding basic home ownership responsibilities. To the builder, I speak for all of those in the surrounding community that we expect full clarity in future, either written or verbal, on any newly proposed buildings on this property. I ask that you respect the area you are working in and the people who already live in this area. We expect all necessary actions are taken during construction so our foundations and properties are not affected by any new build on this lot. For example, drilling instead of pounding piles, grading the land properly to prevent runoff onto my property. Myself and the neighbor on the north side of 637 Edison expect a full height privacy fence be built at the property owner's expense during the early build. I ask that this be placed in writing to us so that it would be upheld with whichever company does construction. I plan to stay on top of any future considerations, maintaining communication with all of my neighbors as I already have. I strongly oppose the proposed home as it will tower over my property, taking away privacy in my own backyard. And I hope you can understand that if this happened in your neighborhood or your home, I think you might feel the same. I have provided a new map noting more residents who are in opposition and an updated petitions. This shows the majority of people on any of the adjacent streets, as well as like just in the 2 to 3 block radius, opposing this. Thank you for your time.
Just a note, just so you're aware, prior to them being able to pull any kind of building permit on this, if they receive any kind of approval, would be required. They have to have an architect stamp and an engineer stamp on drawings, just so you know. But my questions were more along the lines of getting an architect involved now at the front end, so that you get a proper design. That was my concern. Any questions, Councilor Moati, of the proponent? No, the delegation? And, you know, you're aware that this is along at one, well, it's not anymore, but at one time it was designated as a rapid transit corridor. We bought the Northeast Pioneers Greenway from John Bueller, who had bought it from Canadian Pacific Railway for the purpose, with significant money by the city spent, was for the purpose of a future rapid transit corridor. Therefore, densities along this route do make sense. I would have liked to see something of a higher quality, maybe with more land assembly, that could have accommodated, but nonetheless, that's something that we'll deal with here today. So thank you. Appreciate your presentation. Okay, next delegation we have is Jack Aspen. Mr. Aspen. Take your time, sir. Do you have anybody else on this?
These are all good.
Okay. And nobody else is registered to speak. I have on the list right now, so Mr. Aspen's the last.
Edison and Raleigh is a very dangerous corner. You cannot stop at the stop sign and properly see traffic coming from the north. You have to pull partly into Raleigh intersection. If the traffic from the north doesn't get you, the ones from the south will, because they don't go around the corner, they cut across. I believe that intersection could not be improved unless part of the property of 637 was taken over and cleared of trees and building there. Also, Edison and Raleigh are both snow routes. Ian Place, which I live on for 3.5 years, it's kind of a weird street. Everybody has a driveway, but they all like to park on the street. We have no room for orphan cars from Edison. And there's very little room to pass there. We have one driving lane, one walking lane, or driving. And that. So like, if we get more cars on there, it's going to be even dangerous for the driving, for the people walking, because there's no walkway, sidewalk there. And that's so like with only 4 spaces on, or 5 spaces on the new development, I'm sure there's going to be extra cars that are going to have to find places. People on Edison now are already parking on Ian and other streets around there when the snow route is on, and that there. So I mean, it's too much development for the area. I would thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions of our delegation?
Thank you.
No, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Mr. Aspen.
Thank you.
Do we have any other delegations?
So that concludes those who had registered to speak in opposition. Just to confirm, is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak for information? Seeing none, we can move on to questions for the administration at this time, if any.
They're proposing 5 units without a rezoning, with the current zoning under Housing Accelerator Fund changes to our bylaws. Can they not build a 4-plex already?
Yes.
If they were to pull a permit, would the city go back and relook at why the property goes so far east?
I'm not sure.
It would be an issue of expropriation, would it not? At that point?
Well, no, I mean, quite often, like in other properties, when you do a rezoning, condition of the rezoning is they give up a certain number of feet. Like, on Henderson Highway, there were some lots that went a little further into the right of way, and as part of a rezoning requirement, they would give up land. Okay. No, I have no other questions.
Questions? The applicant indicated that they were meeting with the city for 2 years on this. Is that accurate?
I can't fully say. It was the previous district planner. There were
But you would have
definitely,
records of previous meetings on this one?
there were some email communications. They could have had phone calls or in-person meetings, but yeah, there
So
definitely
could we
were.
find out how long they've been meeting with the city on this?
I can check one of the oldest emails.
Who was the previous, who would have been the planner they would have been meeting with?
Dylan,
Dylan, is he still with the city?
yes, the last communications that I have a record of, again, it doesn't speak to phone calls, was February of last year.
February of last year, so that's a year and a half.
Yes,
So, and I guess the question is, would there not have been a file opened on this by the planning department, recording any kind of correspondence, meetings, requests, any kind of, anything going on?
there wouldn't need to be records. They wouldn't have put in an application at that time because they would have been going back and forth with planning and the various other departments they mentioned and other parties. Yes.
Okay, so the closest, the most, the furthest back email that you have is February of 2024.
Yes.
And was it any way, when somebody says they've been meeting with 2 years, so it's a year and a half, it's not 2 years?
Mhm.
And is it because of delays from the city end that they didn't come forward sooner, or what was the gaps in time, I guess, between their emails getting back to you and so on? What was your take on that?
At least from the planning end, there was back and forth, definitely for months. Looks like almost a year. At least within planning.
And why was it recommended not to allow 6 units?
It was to meet the one-to-one parking.
Oh, I see.
It was supported 6 units.
Okay,
It looks like near the end when they were applying,
okay.
they chose to go with 5 units.
It proved what?
They chose to go with 5 units.
Okay. And at any point during all those communications that you had with the applicant, was it indicated that that they should have community consultations?
From my documentation, and I mentioned this last meeting, there's no mention of it, but as the applicant just stated, it was recommended to them. Again, that could have been on the phone or an in-person meeting with the applicant.
So why is the planning department not just sending out a list of things that they, if there's somebody who wants to do development, these are the basic bare minimums that need to happen. Why is that not go out in writing? To anybody?
It may have, I just don't have that record.
But why should it not be automatic, and we should see that, and it should be automatically part of the process of the planning department? There should be a standard email that goes out to any applicant, especially if they're upgrading the zoning to increase densification. These are the bare minimums that you need to follow.
For sure. Again, I don't have the first email communications.
No, but
I'm
my
just
question is,
letting-
why is the planning department not issuing that?
It is on most of our standard.
But you just said there's nothing on file, you're saying that.
Because I don't have records of the previous planners' emails.
Why not? It should be following the file, not who's the planner. It should follow the property.
I could certainly check in with them when they.
Sorry for asking very direct questions,
Yeah.
but this kind of upsets me. That we should be following the property. It shouldn't matter who the planner is. Right? The planner, whether we have planners come and go, the issues follow this property. There should be a file on it. You open the file, everything's documented. All the emails, all the documentation, and there should be a standard email issued to anybody coming forward to do rezoning, saying that these are the bare minimums. Consultation would be one of them.
It sounds like it was communicated to the applicant as they addressed.
It sounds like, that's not saying it was.
That's true.
All right, that's
what
my
they-
concern.
What the applicant said.
Well, this has to change. planning department has to get more consistent across the board.
You're fairly consistent
Doesn't sound like
recommending.
it to me. So.
I just don't have
Anyway,
email records.
well, we'll disagree.
I
Well, then
can
if you don't have the
certainly-
records, that's my point.
I can
If the records
certainly-
aren't there, and we don't typically state in the records what should be on the file, the file should show everything.
The file doesn't come to much later, like most applicants, they're.
Okay, so but
speaking with-
when it came later, was it stated, was there an email sent out that said, these are the bare minimums that should happen?
When we received the file, we're just documenting as noted, if there was any collaboration or
Was-
public engagement.
Was there an email saying, these are the standard things that have to happen for you to make an application with the city of Winnipeg?
I guess unfortunately, public consultation isn't a requirement. We recommended it. It sounded like the
Hey,
district.
you're not answering my question.
Sure.
I said, is there a standard email that goes out to every application saying, these are the things that we recommend that you do in light of the fact you're interested in doing a rezoning on this property?
Yes. I unfortunately don't have a copy of that email or
Why
that
not?
phone conversation or that in-person meeting minutes.
But would, if a standard email was issued, which you just said it would have been, it should be in the file.
It's not documented in the file as such,
No,
because it's
that's
not
a
a
real concern.
requirement.
That's a real concern. We may have to make a request for the audit committee of the city of Winnipeg to do a full audit of the planning department, because clearly the files are not being kept as they should be. It's a real concern that I have. Because this affects application after application in the city. If we have a standard for one community committee and not following it for another, or if there's a disconnect because we're going through different planners, that's a real concern that I have.
For sure, and we, like I said, we recommend public consultation.
But you don't.
There's no
You
file.
don't have any documentation saying you have. You can't substantiate that statement because you can't point to me in anything in the file saying that you've done that.
That's right. I believe you're on property committee, so this is certainly something.
Well, you're on IPC and you're at the audit committee.
Yep.
So, anyway. It's a real concern. Anyway, all right, I don't have any questions on the public service at this time. Yeah. All right, please take my concerns back to the director. Okay, and to your reps. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we will call forward the applicant to speak into rebuttal to comments made. About 5 minutes to speak in rebuttal to comments made. Please note, no new information is permitted.
So I understand there are concerns regarding the neighbors.
I can't hear you, sir. You have to speak up again.
Sorry. I understand there are concerns from the neighbors and I was not in a capacity to do that
Did
consultation.
you receive any communication from the city of Winnipeg indicating that you should have consultations?
There is a recommendation which I received in the very beginning, and I believe it was February of 2024. I said almost 2 years, but it's not exactly 2 years.
But you did receive a communication in writing saying that from the city?
It is recommended, and I know from
Right.
my experience that it's a good practice to go talk to the neighbors, and I informed the gentleman who hired me, David Phillips, and they have a corporation which owns the company in terms of who's the owner.
And why was it elected not to do that?
To be honest, I'm not sure. Like,
Okay.
I'm not sure. Like, if somebody asked me to go ahead and do that, I would have done it. But I'm not in the ownership capacity to make the decisions. So I was hired to make the plans and consult with the city departments and make the application. In terms of architect, we do partner with different architecture companies. So if having an architect on board, usually part 9 buildings, they require a structural engineer and civil engineers on board. And I believe I know that the owner have retained one of the civil engineers, which did the water and waste calculations and recommended that this development can go. One of the opposition mentioned that this might not be, but I believe the owner is in contact with the civil engineer Bonds and Duncan, which did the calculation for if the water and waste is sufficient for this development. As for architect, if that's a recommendation or requirement, I believe the owner is open to even hire an architect to review these plans and make their comment on it. So architecture plan.
Who was the gentleman who was here previously?
Actually, his name is David Phillips.
Well,
And
that's David Phillips.
that is David Phillips.
I see. Okay. So why did he leave?
He had to go somewhere. We believe that the meeting will start at 10:30, so I think he had to rush.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
Never seen that before, where the owner takes off in the middle of the hearing that he wants an application for, and that's the new one for me. So
Sorry.
it's a bit of a red flag, but anyway, all right.
So yeah, that was the gentleman.
Yeah,
And after my presentation here, I spoke to him and they are open to the architect or hiring an architect.
but he's one of the owners. There's other.
He's not the owner. I just clarified with him,
Oh,
like,
he's not the owner.
he's not, he's representing the owners. He's the agent who bought the property for the owners
So
and
who
he's.
are the owners of the land?
Zhu is the last name.
Who?
Zhu is XUE. I'm not sure.
XUE.
Yeah, that's the
XUE.
Hugh Zhu.
Where do they reside?
They live in Linden Ridge, Lindenwood, sorry.
Lindenwood.
Yeah, I think that's my knowledge, but I've never directly contacted them or so. I was always contacted by David.
But David is the contact, so you got an intermediate between you and the owner.
Yes.
I've never heard of that either. And so.
I believe the owners are just investors and he's the one.
Okay, fair enough. So he is, what is his background?
He's a agent, real
A
estate
real
agent.
estate agent?
Yeah.
Okay, he's a real,
And I believe he's also a broker.
a broker.
Yeah.
A broker of what?
Like real estate broker.
A real estate broker. Okay,
Yeah.
I see. Agent and broker. Okay, fair enough. They own this. Have they done other projects in Winnipeg? Or is this the first?
I think so, yes.
You think so or you know?
I mean, I designed one other project for them. So
Where is that?
that's in Saint Vital.
And has it been built?
No, they're in permitting process there at this point.
Oh, so that no other project has been built yet by them?
I mean, I don't know if they have done, I mean, they just got in contact with me this was the first project they got in contact with me, so they must have done before hiring
I
me.
don't know
So,
that.
yeah, exactly, so I don't know. So,
I have no idea either.
Yeah.
So you can't name a property that they have designed and built and is now been fully constructed in the city of Winnipeg.
No, I cannot,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, thank
I
you.
know that they're working on few more, but I'm not sure if they have built some.
Well, that's the downside of a strong real estate market. We got everybody coming to the table doing building and some people know what they're doing, some don't. But anyway, thank you. Okay. Any other questions, Councilor Wadi? Do you have anything else you'd like to say in responding to any of the residents' concerns, sir? This is your opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that there are density or traffic issues, and as far as one particular property goes, from my previous experiences doing some infill, I mean, this is the best a builder can do on their lot, and they have been accommodating for the extra lot, extra parking stall. So, yeah, and they're also open if the west side neighbor, the window, or if that's an issue for privacy, they are open to get rid of the balcony and they are open to get rid of the, not get rid, like glaze that window. So that can help concern. I know from planning, and it happened way down the road after like a couple of months of consultation, that planning was not open to 13 feet front yard just because of the west side neighbor, and they asked me to push the building back to 17 feet. So that was one redesign we had to do for the sake of western neighbor. That's why you see the jog in the front of the building.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions of the proponent? See none? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilor Wadi, do you have any other questions of the public service?
Nope. Okay, on the rezoning, I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All in favor, opposed, carried.
I move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All in favor, opposed, carried.
I move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service not be concurred and forwarded to the Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development. My supporting reasons for this motion, Mr. Chair, are numerous. They include the fact that the applicant did not properly consult with the area residents in terms of the scope and what was being proposed. They did not come to community committee with answers to a lot of the questions that we had and we would normally expect to receive at a public hearing like this. I do actually have some hangups about this area densifying beyond what we already quite aggressively added in terms of the changes to our bylaw with half. I believe this law would actually already, without a rezoning, be eligible for units, which I think is considering the scope of the immediate neighborhood, quite aggressive. So going above and beyond that for an initial unit, I'm also a little hesitant to support here today.
Okay,
So those are my supporting reasons.
So just to be clear, the recommendation to planning, property and development is that it be rejected?
Correct.
I'll support Councilor Maloney's motion. I've got real concerns here that I guess red flags come up about not only the public consultation not happening, that the last hearing, the applicant was not here. The questions about ownership seem to be kind of hard to identify. I mean, you either know who the owner is or you don't. I couldn't, it had to be a second round of questions to determine who the owner was, and then we got a different name. I felt the presentation in terms of the application very weak. I feel the design is very minimal. I'm on the opposite page of you, Councilor. I think there could be densification, but it should be part of probably a secondary plan or a plan for the area. But in light of the fact that transit, or in light of the fact council voted to have transit corridor here not identified in the future, even though we bought that land for the purpose of a rapid transit route. So I guess in that sense, there's no plan there right now, hopefully in the future, but.
We do have the FX4 down Gateway.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of the future rapid transit corridor that we bought the Marconi line
Right,
for,
yeah.
right? The Marconi line was purchased for that very purpose. Pioneers Gateway is the temporary use. It would be a new AT path down there with a rapid transit line in the future was the vision. That got moved off by a previous council. But having said that, I'm also concerned about the fact that some of our questions pertaining to, when we asked about the length of time, that they were, they indicated 2 years when it was really a year and a half. That they've been in back and forth with the city, giving the impression it was the city that was delaying things, which is not the case. I'm concerned about also the fact that the records in terms of this file from the planning department have not been maintained the way I'd like to see. And that is a real concern going forward, especially with documentation in that these matters are appealed to the municipal board. The documentation in the planning files are absolutely crucial because that's when we get decisions on us overturned, and rightfully so. That's why I was asking very point blank earlier these questions.
I would actually also like to add just, again, we don't have solid answers about why the property goes so far east, but I will acknowledge that this property, the actual building, the elevation going further east than what is there existing, does legitimately give concern to visibility of traffic on Raleigh. That's the only thing that it mentioned in my official motion in terms of the eastern limit of the property.
Okay, heard the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Most carried.
I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All in favor, opposed, carried.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representations are permitted on the subdivision rezoning. All persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council.
On the variance, I'll move that the Port of Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All in favor, opposed, carried.
I move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All in favor, opposed, carried.
I move that in accordance with subsection 2473 of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance is not consistent with Plan Winnipeg and any applicable secondary plan does create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by a street or waterway. C is not the minimum zoning modification of a zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property, and D is not compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. My supporting reasons are the same as for the rezoning.
Okay. All in favor, opposed, carried.
I move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service not be concurred in and the variance be rejected.
All in favor, opposed, carried.
I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All in favor, opposed, carried.
Please note that the committee's decision with respect to this application may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the order which will be mailed to all persons registered. That concludes the two public hearings. I understand there may have been new business.
Yes, just so everybody knows, as a matter of, this committee has rejected the application. It's a recommendation only. We're not the decision-making body. It goes now on to the Standing Committee of Planning, Property Development. They then make a recommendation that goes to the Executive Policy Committee. They then make a recommendation that goes to council. Council actually makes the decision. So at any point, at those other two committees, could the decision be changed or amended? As well, there's also a thing called the municipal board. You or the applicant have a right to appeal to the municipal board. Okay? And so that's how the process works. And they can overturn the decision as well or make a different decision as well. That's a provincial body. It just gives you an idea of the process that's involved here. Okay? And just so the applicant can withdraw their application as well prior to it hitting the floor of council, which some do. Because if they goes to council with a rejection, then there's a time limit when they can file for a rezoning in the future on it. So that's just an FYI, okay? Okay, thanks for coming. You can ask the clerk after. Well, we can take a 5-minute break if you like. Let's just take a 5-minute break.
Take a 5-minute break?
Sure, just so they can ask questions. Sure. Yeah. Okay, we're back to the regular meeting of community committee. I have a new business. Councilor Wadi, would you like to take the chair?
Matt, we could just have a motion move to your new business.
So,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those carried.
so moved by myself. Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas the change in transit routes has dramatically and negatively affected residents residing along Victoria Avenue East from 611 Victoria Avenue East to Redonda Street. And whereas the change has seen bus routes that previously used Kildare Avenue East to be relocated to region Victoria Avenue East-West, yet multiple family housing units are located on Kildare, now having pedestrians having to walk the distance previously on their street, right on Kildare. So we have to clean up that wording. And whereas the street, namely Victoria Avenue East, is a substandard collector, which is not wide enough to accommodate parked vehicles and two-way traffic. And whereas Kildare Avenue East is in poor condition in this section, and with failed joints causing severe shaking in the homes along the street. And whereas the proper sidewalk and pedestrian crossing corridors are lacking along Victoria Avenue East, yet this pedestrian corridor is subject to traffic generated from two high schools and a large community park. Therefore, be it resolved that the city of Winnipeg immediately reverse the newly placed bus routes on region Victoria Avenue East and restore them to Kildare Avenue East. And B, that the city of Winnipeg undertake a traffic study on Victoria Avenue East from 611 Victoria Avenue East to Redonda Street with the following being taken into consideration. 1, road widening required to properly accommodate road widening to upgrade to a major collector standard. 2, road and pedestrian mitigation measures to improve pedestrian and road safety, such as but not limited to traffic circles, mini traffic circles, raised traffic tables, new 3- or 4-way stop sign intersections, and signalized pedestrian crossings. 3, that the above items should consider better connectivity using safety upgrades at the Wood Lake intersection crossing, the Wood Lake intersection, and access to Victoria Jason Park, and a new safety improvement to slow down traffic in the vicinity of Victoria Avenue East, of 611 Victoria Avenue East. And number 4, full reconstruction of the street to end the shaking homes. And 5, that the above items be done in a consultative manner where with Public Works and Transit, working with the area residents and the area city councilor. That's the motion.
Just one brief question. Number 2, road and pedestrian mitigation measures.
Yeah, so these are measures to improve pedestrian and road safety, such as, but not limited to, traffic circles, mini traffic circles, raised traffic tables, new 3-way stop signs, intersections, and signalized pedestrian crossing.
We say collision mitigation measures, just pedestrian mitigation sounds like we want to reduce the number of pedestrians.
Well, no, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, so road mitigation measures, we'll call it. We'll drop the word pedestrian. So road mitigation measures to improve pedestrian road safety. Okay. That would address your concern.
Road and safety measures, or road and safety measures,
Well, pedestrian.
or traffic mitigation.
No, they're also safety for pedestrians, yeah. Road mitigation measures to improve pedestrian road safety.
Road hazard? Mitigation, road mitigation, just doesn't.
Yeah, road mitigation,
Well,
again,
maybe the word
Let's work this-
mitigation is right, so road safety measures, let's call it.
road safety measures.
Sure. Safety measures, good idea. Safety measures, okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
That solves it. That would be a recommendation up to the Public Works Committee.
So there's the motion. If I vote against it, does it still go to Public Works?
No, it would be lost.
Well, I can't support the motion where it says you reverse this immediately, so.
So what,
The motion calls an immediate reversal of something.
road widening, well, it calls for the city of Winnipeg reverse. Well, why don't we word it this way? The city of Winnipeg reverse the newly placed bus routes on, that's the first clause you're concerned about?
Yeah. So I
And failing this, that B could be considered. Because then it gives an option to the committee. So what I'm saying is that B, that A, that in the event they choose not to do A, they can do B. You see, gives them a choice.
Well.
And failing this, then
Again,
that gives the committee the choice to do that.
Yeah, B is awfully capital intensive and not things you can do overnight.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna have to,
So what would you say if I dropped A?
what will be left? Like, are you,
Well, the city of Winnipeg undertake a traffic study,
okay?
so nothing's gonna happen, right? But on Victoria Avenue East, from 611 to Victoria Avenue East, from 611 Victoria East to Redondo, basically a block and a half. With consideration of the following: road widening to basically upgrade it to a major collector. Two, this is the safety measures that was mentioned.
Sure.
Three, that the items be done to ensure better connectivity, so some
Okay.
intersections that, and access to the park. The other one is a full if we don't do anything with the road, a full reconstruction, because the road has failed basically right now, put it on the list. Get that done, and the fifth thing is that it just be done in.
So how's that clause worded again about the reconstruction? Just
Full reconstruction of the street to end shaking of homes.
be considered or something.
Well,
As part of the
that's-
traffic
that's-
study would be my
It's part
understanding.
of the traffic, it's all within, comes under the traffic study.
Okay, I'll support your motion to have a study on this. That's fine.
Okay,
So to be clear, we are removing the reversal of the bus routes.
well, I'm dropping that, I guess, based on what council play, so, okay, so I'm dropping that, I'll speak to it.
Okay.
So,
Fine.
okay, so
Okay,
that's,
so
that'll
the
be,
motion's understood now. It's been modified. That first clause is going.
you guys are holding your pat on that one, eh? Politically, I, come an election.
All right.
Anyway, all right,
The revised
people are
motion.
mad, Josh. I'm telling you.
Oh, it's a big change.
Well, that's a big change if you're taking the bus. If you're not, I guess we can connect with them. Anyway, that's my motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Okay,
Uh,
move adjournment?
no, Counselor,
Oh, yes.
if you may,
Sure,
I'd like to move suspension of rules to add one other item of new business.
sure,
Suspension of rules to deal with that.
sure. All in favor, vote
Aye.
carried.
I'd like to make a $250 per capita grant, to, Joshua Martins, who's participating in the Generation Rising, service trip, in, February of 2026. And, it would be, my pleasure to support this one-time endeavor.
Good. Any questions about that? No, see none, all in favor, opposed, carried.
I'll
Now,
consider
adjournment.
Yep.
All in favor, opposed, carried. Excellent. Great.